Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Dancing Geek podcast. My name is James, or Dancing Geek online, and you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, YouTube under that name. Today is Wednesday the 1st of October 2014. Is passing us by, folks. I can't believe it. I'm still stuck thinking it's like 2004, never mind 2014. So, let's see. I'm going to start us off with my one finished object, which is my gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous shawl. If I do say so myself, the pattern is what I think is gorgeous. I also am very happy with my shawl, but you know, there's only so much tooting of your own trumpet one can really do in a podcast, but then quite frankly it's my podcast and I'll toot my trumpet if I want to, and all of a sudden that's sounding rude. So, there we go. It's huge, which is perfect because I'm kind of tall. Well, I'm 6 foot, you know. So it needs to have a nice big wingspan, but I love, love, love the patterning on this. Absolutely adore it. And you can see it's quite loose, knit, which is fine by me. It's sort of not really lacy, it's just loose knit, but it has that kind of open drapey feel to it, which is really lovely. As I've said before, the green is merino, the brown is BFL, and the yellow is baby alpaca. So this is super, super soft, all natural. Smells amazing, feels amazing, and is super warm. So I doubt I'm going to actually keep it on very long, but this one works really well as kind of a wintry scarf, because you can see I can kind of, if I tie it a bit tighter, I could bunch it all up and it'd be really, really toasty warm. Yeah. And I have actually, when I was at Yarndale, which I'll talk about in a bit, we were sat outside at lunch because I was saying hi to people and it was cold, so I did actually do the old drape it over thing, which isn't a particularly great look on me, I don't think, but it was more practicality than fashion. So I had it wrapped around me to huddle up, and it's lovely and warm for something that's sort of just quite airy, which I suppose kind of makes sense if you think about it. But yes, I actually noticed I photographed it this way round. So if you've looked at my Instagram or Ravelry project page, I photographed it with all the, you can see where the colours cross and everything, which is absolutely fine because I think it's pretty, both sides. But this is sort of the front side or right side of the work, as it were, which has clearer striping, and obviously I think the striping is a really big feature. It just looks amazing in my viewfinder, so I love this. So, I don't know, someone said I had to wear it in the podcast, so I'll wear it for a bit, but if it gets in the way or I get too warm, I might have to take it off. Let's see if I can wear it a bit looser actually than that, and then we'll see. I don't want it to fall off either, because it is quite smooth. You know, it doesn't grip, it's soft, so it's all, it's not got hairy, sort of grippy stuff. Although the alpaca's got a little halo. Okay, right, that's my only FO, which is absolutely fine, because these things take time. So, I'm going to move on to my only real work in progress. And I muttered about this. Muttered? I don't really mutter. At least I hope I don't mutter. About this last week. I talked about this last week because I wasn't sure what to do. And I had a few responses that basically either said, go with your gut, because when it comes to knitting, you need to do what you love. And if you don't love it, frog it, you know. Which I think is absolutely true. It's one of those things, isn't it, in sort of, you have to enjoy what you're doing with it, really, don't you? I'm just trying to see if I can knit and talk at the same time, because I notice some people knit on their podcast. My problem is I feel like I have to look at it a lot, so I'm not really looking at you guys. I can knit without looking if I'm very careful and I kind of really think about what I'm feeling, but it feels very awkward, yeah? So I might not actually, but I love this jumper so much now that I want to just keep knitting on it. But anyway, let's show it to you. This is my stripy jumper, and as you can see, not particularly well, admittedly. I'll bring it up to the screen a bit more for you. Excuse me. So here we go. Let's see. You can see I've switched from just repeating the bottom two colours for a bit to going through all the colours. Now I actually quite like it. I kind of think it does look, I say you can hear in my voice, can't you? That's not love. I think it does look a bit wacky. And so not necessarily, you know what I mean, don't you? Well, I can hear it's 3 solid colours. So although it's quite busy, actually when you wear it and what have you, it works really well, it just meshes and everything's fine and it's not too out there. And again, like with my hat, although it's a bit crazy, it's all one colourway and it all goes together. Well, this obviously, it's going to be about 6 different colourways. And I've got a sort of a variegated, a gradient, another variegated and a solid. So already that's kind of quite a lot of different kind of things happening all at the same time. And then I've got another kind of, this one's a mild actually, the next one is going to be a mild green, it's this one. Give the camera a chance, there we go. So it's a light and dark green mild. The lighting seems a little bit harsher today for some reason, I'm not sure why. I do my best to get the lighting to be nice and even, but I think the sun's kind of coming in and out of the clouds today, so it might vary a bit. So yes, I've done a couple more stripes. I got back to sort of where I was pretty much, and I'm starting on the 5th stripe. I like it, so I think I'm just going to go for it. I might end up ripping it out completely and starting from scratch some other time or what have you. That's absolutely fine. But I want to have a play, and then I'll see if I like wearing it. Or if I just, you know, if I don't get that far, then that's fine as well. But it's nice and straightforward. It's just knits pretty much all the way round. I did on Instagram, Brin719, B-R-I-N 719, Brian, made a suggestion that you can put in, if you're just doing knit stitch all the way around, you can put in 1 purl stitch either side that would go up to under the arm as like a fake seam that adds a bit of structure. And I thought that sounded interesting, and I'm all about trying new things with my knitting, so I'm doing that as well. But otherwise it's just knit, and of course that just means I've got 2 markers in for the 2 purl stitches. So I just knit, 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 up, marker, slip, purl, knit, 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 knit. One handy hint, and it did have this in the pattern on the ribbing, and so I've used it on the rest of the colour work where I have a knit stitch. It does seem to look much nicer if you've got a column of pearls and you're switching colours to knit the first row of the new colour. Now it seems like that would break it, but if you have a look at my ribbing there, I think that's absolutely fine, but actually the first row of the brown there is knit all the way around and then ribbed. And I don't think you can tell in terms of the fact there's a knit stitch in there, but it keeps the colour level. So it keeps the top of the green there looks like a straight line, and if you don't, because I didn't when I initially started to do the purl column, according to Brian's suggestion, I didn't initially, and on the colour changes it did look a bit weird. So I actually went back and dropped the stitches and knit the first one and then purled the rest. So a little hint for you there if you are doing colour work with purl stitches. If I learn it, you learn it. That's how it works in my world. Teach everything you know. Share information. Freedom, internet. What is it? There's been a thing recently, I saw recently online about internet freedom, something like that. Anyway, basically there was a big, massive thing ages ago where major websites like Wikipedia went black and stuff for the day. I mean, you could still kind of click past that and go and use them, but it was this really big awareness thing about some of the legislation trying to be passed in America. And we've had similar stuff over here in the UK to restrict. I'm trying to think. Well, freedom. It's not freedom of information. It's not internet freedom, but it's something like that. It's the fact that anything and everything can go on the internet, and you know you can't stop us or censor us. Thank you very much. It's up to us what we want to see, which I think is really, really cool. And you know, it does mean parents have to sort of pay a bit more attention, but you know, that's fine. At least I say, you know, I'm not a parent. Maybe it's like the most annoying thing in the world ever, but I can't imagine it's any worse than anything else kids used to have access to. Actually, all of that. Just ignore all of that. I'm just burbling and it doesn't make any sense and I don't necessarily agree with anything I've just said. But, yay for freedom. I can't even remember where any of that came from, so let's just move on. My jumper is the only thing I really have to show you because it's something I've worked on. The socks I haven't really done anything with, so I won't bother with that. And the only other thing that I've worked on and done a fair bit of work on is my commission, which is super exciting. But I kind of feel like I shouldn't show you guys before I've shown them, you know, and like finished it and everything's signed, sealed. And I will probably record a little skit with it before I send it off, and then once they've received it, I can show you guys that, which will be quite fun. So, in lieu of all of that, I thought I would show you something because this inspired my commission. I used some of this to inspire my commission. This is actually, sorry, there's a feather from the cushion stuck in it there. This is actually a gorgeous, gorgeous throw that my aunt, who I have mentioned on Instagram, and I will talk about again in a second, made for me. This is hand woven. It's huge. There is no way I will get it all in the screen. I would have to be about, you know, the other side of the house or something to fit it all in, because it's big enough to go over like a double bed. It does the length, the width of our 3-seater sofa, and we have to fold it in half and half again over the back of the sofa for it to not kind of swamp everything. But isn't this just gorgeous? And bless her, apparently she got my sister to talk to her about different colours and stuff that would work. Yeah, the sun's suddenly glaring again. Let's come forward a bit. She's got lovely tassels. Now I know that she does spin. I'm not sure if she's used hand spun in this or not. I don't think she said she did, so it may not be hand spun. But there is greens, creams, oranges, browns. There's a little bit of tweed in there. There's some grey, and every single square. I don't know if I'll be able to get all the different stitch patterns in on the camera and have it pick it up, but all the different squares you can see there have their own stitch pattern. So she's varied it. Now, there's stuff in common. There's twills and diamond shapes and all kinds of things. I mean, she's amazing. And this is my aunt. If I haven't said it on my podcast before, my aunt has just opened a little weaving studio with some friends up where she lives. And it's gorgeous. I went to see it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm in love with this throw, majorly, absolutely majorly in love with it. I almost cried when she gave it to me, because I was like, oh my gosh, because this is hours and hours and hours of labour that's gone into this, just massive amounts of work, and it's in my colours and she made it for me. Oh my gosh! And oh, I can show you if I can find it, because I think it's really cool, and I think I need something like this. It's like, where is it? I know it's on here somewhere. This is the problem with huge items like this. Now there should only be 4 corners, so it shouldn't be that hard to find. Here we go, there we go, I just went past it. So she even has these amazing little labels, hand-woven by Rosie. So if you're up in the Kendal area and you want some gorgeous hand-woven stuff, I highly recommend you check out The Factory, which is this new arts and crafts space that's being developed. So there's still building work happening around the site because it's this huge place, but the little cottage area where she's set up with some others is all ready and good, and you can visit. Yeah, and the ladies there make amazing stuff. Yeah, I mean, they have some of their stuff there, just sort of decorating the place. But I'm sure if you wanted some, they would be quite happy to let you walk away with it for a small fee, or potentially not so small fee, given that it's such good quality stuff. But yeah, amazing. And if anyone's desperate for handwoven stuff and doesn't want to have to go to Kendal, then drop me a line and I'll hook you up, my aunt. You know, let's make it happen, guys. So yeah. Anyway, the reason that I brought this out today was because she was telling me about how she constructed it. You can see all these different sort of lengths this way, so it's fairly regular in the warp, the amount of warp in each colour, but in the weft, as she's weaving it, the length of each colour that she used, or the sort of the amount of each colour that she did, that she weaved through it, changes. And she was telling me that she did it based on the Fibonacci sequence, which, for those of you who aren't maths nerds, is a sequence of numbers generated by adding the last two numbers together, and you start with 1 and 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2, then the last two numbers are 1 and 2, which makes 3, the last two numbers are 2 and 3, which makes 5, and so on and so forth. So it goes 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and then off and off and off. This particular sequence of numbers is massive in nature. So if you look at things like the head of a sunflower, if you count the seeds in each row, you will find they follow the Fibonacci sequence. Or if you look at petals, they almost always come out in a Fibonacci sequence. So you tend to find 3-petaled stuff, or 5-petaled stuff, or 8s or 13s. And that's all to do with how they grow. So I did mathematical biology at uni, and it was fascinating, and I could talk about this for hours. But the short version is that basically, if you try and grow a load of stuff in as small a place as possible to be really, really super efficient, which is what nature tries to do, you logically and necessarily come out with stuff that follows the Fibonacci sequence. Things like populations also follow Fibonacci sequence as well, to a certain extent. It's not like it's rigid, you know, nature doesn't follow these numbers, but you find these patterns all over the place, absolutely all over the place in nature. It's related to things like the golden spiral or the golden ratio, which you might have heard of. And the Fibonacci sequence is fairly well known, so all of that might have been old news to you. But, you know, I am a bit of a maths nerd as well, and that has to creep in every now and again. So she used a pot of Fibonacci numbers and a pot of colours, and mixed them up, and then chose one from each, and that was what she did next. And I just thought that was genius. Now, she was saying the reason she did it was because, oh dear, you see now, look, I don't know if you can see, one of the cat's claws is hooked to the thread there, which is fine. I had a conversation with her when she first gave it to me, and I said, well, I've got cats, and they'll probably snag it or what have you. And she was like, look, it's to be used. And I love that. I love the fact that there's all this love and everything that's gone into it, but it's to be used, it's to be had, it's to be worn by life as opposed to just worn by me. It's not to be put in a frame and looked at. It's very pretty. But I like the fact that things are to be, you know, it's to be functional, it's to be loved by being used. I mean, I could just have this as a wall hanging because it's gorgeous, but I like the fact that we have it draped on our sofa, and I sit with it almost every day. And I just think of my aunt almost every day, and that is lovely, and that is so much nicer to touch it and to have it in my life and part of my life and affected by my life and my cat's impact on the things around me that I love. So that little hook is actually just a reminder of my cats. Wow, I am going off on tangents today. And you know what? That's okay. Thank you guys. Massive, massive, massive feedback saying just chill out, James. Just be yourself. Go with it. So thank you. This is what I'm doing today. I've not even got a timer going. I'm not going to worry about it. So yes, the really, really cool mechanism for creating stripes. Yeah, what I was going to say was the reason she did it was because her loom isn't wide enough to do a 3-seater sofa in one go. You know, that would be huge. She has some pretty big looms, but a 3-seater sofa is you know, it's got to be at least 6 foot across, because I can lie out on that thing and I'm fine. You know, I don't have to scrunch up at all. So you can see there's a bit of a seam there. So she did one really long panel with a bit of space in between the three sections to be able to make these with the warp, and then cut into 3 sections and seamed. So there's 2 seams running down it, and apparently she was telling me she did all these different ideas for how to seam it so it looked okay. And I don't even see it when it's out on my sofa. I don't see the seam at all. So she did an amazing job. If you're interested, she used a zigzag stitch along the edge and then flipped it over and used a zigzag stitch again. So there's 2 lots of zigzagging on the seam, and it's really flat. There's no kind of, you know, sometimes if you have 2 pieces of fabric and you kind of put them together and seam them like that and then open them out to be like a blanket, that the fabric has to go somewhere and it kind of bulks up, so you kind of got 3 layers. Because she's done it like that, it's only 2 layers, and that makes a really big difference. It's really flat. And yeah, because she knew she was going to have to seam it in pieces, she knew that in places, yeah, not everything lines up. So she wanted something where the stripes would not have to line up but would still look good. So she wanted varying stripes that went well together. And the Fibonacci sequence is this great, as I say, number in nature. So it's a very pleasing number to see in patterns and what have you. It reminds us of nature. It looks natural and organic. So by doing that, even where there's seams in the fabric, you can see that it doesn't clash. It works together, and actually there's this sense of, you know, there's a sort of 1-inch stripe there and another little 1-inch stripe here, and in fact I think there's 2 lots of 1-inch striping there, or is it just slightly? No, I think it is 2 separate colours there and there. So because of that, because of these natural numbers, effectively, this natural sequence coming through in the pattern, it looked really good. It's amazing, amazing. And I thought I would love to do that kind of random Fibonacci sequence, and I'm kind of not doing a very good job of folding this back up now, but I'm going to drape it as artistically as I can over the sofa here, so for you to enjoy for the rest of the podcast. I thought I would use... Is that pretty? Yeah, that's pretty. That idea for my commission. So there's going to be a bit of Fibonacci sequencing in my commission work, which is kind of cool. You can see my hair poking out from behind my hat. I did think about what I was going to do with my hair today, and I looked at it and I just went, yeah, hat, because I haven't been to the hairdressers yet. I will eventually, sometime before Christmas. Anyway, Christmas is my deadline, so it might be December the 21st. Right, oh yeah, I forgot. I was going to do it in the intro. I forgot. I'm doing tea again this week. So today's tea is heartwarming tea from Yogi Tea. This was another, in fact, the other of the 2 teas that I got in my little gorgeous parcel of yummy loveliness from Deborah at Fondant Fibre. Spelt the English way because she's a British company. She's a British lady as far as I'm aware. So I've made it up. I've got a little teapot sat next to me here. In fact, let's show you. I'll show you. So this is my other half's little individual teapot. That is so cute. And I think you've got the cleaner side on display there because it's well loved, shall we say. And I have a new mug. Does he look familiar? Yeah, so this is my first stash acquisition from Yarndale. I'll tilt it just a little bit just so you can see. There you go. I haven't got it filled. So that looks just like my stitch markers, doesn't it? And that's because this is a Hurdy mug that I got from Yarndale. It has a slight spoil on the front, which I have to really point out for you to see. Look, there we go. Which meant I got it less than half price. And I love Hurdy, so whenever they've got stuff on offer, I'm like, yeah, thank you. So I had that. I think there's a little dash of something white there. It's not quite perfect, but I'm fine with that. I don't use mugs very often, but with my new tea attempted habit, I thought it would be a really good idea. And I just love the Hurdy stuff. I love the little cute sheep. And it's orange, guys, of course. It's also bone china. Did you hear that? Gorgeous. Right, so the packet just said it's herbs and spices. That's all it says. It just says herb and spice infusion. So I don't know what's in it, but it smells freaking amazing. Now I think there's got to be some cinnamon in there, and I feel like I can smell oregano, but then I think oregano sometimes smells like tea. So, and other than that, I haven't got a clue. So I steeped it for 2 minutes in the teapot, and then I added a spoonful of sugar, and I've let that sit for a little while. So hopefully This one is sweetened, but we'll find out. Let's see. Ooh, wow. Oh, that feels really solid, which might sound strange, but one of the things that I didn't like about fruit teas and stuff when I tried them originally was it felt like it was just water, and it was just hot water. Now, I'm not a big fan of warm water. I drink a lot of water. I only tend to drink water, but I always make sure it's really, really cold. So just warm water without much anything else to it tasted a bit. Whereas this is almost creamy. I don't know how that works, but it feels much more solid than just water. I think, yes, I can maybe taste just that little sweetness from the sugar, which is definitely helping. It makes it much nicer. And I can't think of anything else really to say about it, which is awful, isn't it? I mean, what's the point of talking about tea if I'm not going to do much with it? But anyway, cheers. I didn't say sippy. It's my own version, yeah? Making it my own. Okay. So, after that, I can move on to Stash Love! Where did those jazz hands come from? Now, as you may have noticed on Instagram, if you're watching me on Instagram, there's a fair amount of Stash Love to get through today. So, I'm just going to make a little bit of space by moving my jumper project, so all the wool and everything for it, down onto the floor there. Out of the way. So I've got a bit more... Ow! I just stabbed myself with the DPN. Well done, James. Got myself a little bit more room there. So I'm going to start with all of my Yarndale acquisitions. Holy moly, people. I go a bit insane at a wool festival. So, just to tantalise you a little bit longer, I'm going to first of all show you the non-yarn. Because I've got the mug, my little Hurdy mug. Yay! And I also got from the Hurdy stall, reduced, a Hurdy notepad, also in orange with a little Hurdy sheep on the front there. Now this notepad's really interesting. It's a really nice solid cover, actually. It's plastic, but it's much more solid. I like the really heavy cardboard ones because often you get those sort of slightly luminescent, not luminescent, translucent plastic stuff, and they're just naff. I hate them. So it's really straightforward striping in the paper. There's not even a really big margin at the top, but towards the end it suddenly switches to grey with white lines, and I kind of like that. I don't know what I'll use the different sections for. I don't even know what I'll use the notepad for. I already have a stash of notebooks not being used, but it's an orange notebook and it was cheap, so, and it was Hurdy, so yes, basically. And here's what they often have on their branding. So it says Hurdy, made to make you smile, and it tells you made in the English lakes. Yeah, I'm surprised it said in the English lakes, because I don't think they actually make it in the lakes. I think they mean the Lake District. But I guess for international customers they call it the English lakes, so that you know it's made in England. Gorgeous, Hurdy! So, as I was leaving, some of the friends that I made at Yarndale were saying, oh, you have to get a Yarndale bag on the way out. And I'm so glad I did, because I saw someone message on the Sunday saying that the bags sold out really early on the Sunday. So sorry guys who went up on the Sunday. I didn't manage to buy all the yarn, but we did manage to buy all the bags. So, yeah. Sorry about that. But as I was leaving, after buying the bag, because it was like 6 o'clock by now, and most people had gone and the staff were just hanging around, and I was chatting away, as I did, with everybody, and one of the staff kind of went, oh, you're a knitter? I'm like, yeah. Look at me. Yeah, right. I had my hat on at least, and my big badge. So she said, oh, you need this. And went and grabbed this for me. Booyah. Now, this was a little hand-printed card, so it was a bit on the pricey side for a bit of paper, really. I'm not a massively into hand-printed cards and what have you. This was £2.50, which is, you know, it's fine. That's probably standard for sort of a cute little card and what have you. And in fact, I'll show you another one in a bit. I don't know, why didn't I show it earlier? Oh, because I forgot, that's why. I'll do it now, I'll do it in a second. Which is more expensive. But, and I was like, yeah, go on then. And then, after she saw my bag strap, I have a little badges on one of my bag straps, she was like, oh, get a badge as well. In fact, get two. They're, you know, they're £2.50 each, or two for £4. I was like, no, You get one egregious little spending out of me, but I don't drop all the last of my coins on random tat as I walk out the door. Well, actually, that's harsh. That's really harsh. The badges were gorgeous. But I like little round badges. I kind of got a little thing going for little round badges up my strap, so it would have looked had a place, although I kind of half regret it now, because I was just like, stop trying to just upsell me, okay? Stop trying to flog me stuff. I don't like it. Hard sell. Don't like it. So I just kind of was like, no, stop. It actually was lovely, and kind of probably may have bought it if she hadn't done that. She just pointed it out and not tried too much of a hard sell. But anyway, so I got this, and the one I meant to show you earlier was this one, which I think is absolutely awesome. Although I am biased because this one is made by my aunt. And it's absolutely gorgeous, and you can see it's all sort of, she's sort of in the plastic with the envelope and everything. Apparently she said she doesn't actually knit on those little knitting needles. She knits on DPNs and then switches over to the tiny knitting needles. But I think it's really, really cute. It says alpaca at the bottom in her handwriting, so I'm assuming that is what it is. And yeah, she had these for sale where she was before she moved into her own studio space with her friends. So she let me have one because I thought it's really cute. Yay! So awesome! And I wanted to show you that, guys, because I think it's brilliant. So if you love these as well, let me know. I'll hit you up with my aunt. She is an awesomely talented crafty lady, and she may also be watching this. So hi, Rosie. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, Yarndale and stash. An actual yarny stash. There we go. I got distracted. I obviously like this because I keep going back to it. I do love lots of herbs and spices in my food. So kind of herb and spicy flavoured tea is a great way for me to remember to drink more and get a big waft of herbs and spice. Particularly because my other half is a little bit... he prefers blander foods. He's got a very sensitive palate, basically. So we have a little bit of not a battle, but a ongoing compromise. Sometimes I'll cook and I'll make something quite spicy, but I'll make sure there's plenty of like milk and yogurt and what have you for him to quieten it down, and ice cream afterwards. And he'll cook and he'll make something that has like no spices or anything or herbs in it, and I'm like, this is really, really nice, but it'd be lovely if it just had a little bit of something extra, so fresh pepper will come out or what have you. But you know, I do love proper like green and red herbs and spices type thing. Right, stash. Come on, James, stash. I'll do the other section at the end because I keep talking about stash and not showing you anything. James. So first off is something from Wharf Mill Yarns, and I'm assuming Saddleworth is where they're based because here we are. I'm going to take it out of the bag. This was a bargain bin purchase. There we go. And you can see that it's kind of a heathered or tweedy kind of look, or mauled kind of look. I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of... I'm not sure what you would call it. I'm still learning what the different names are for the different kind of effects, but it's certainly not solid. It's semi-solid or variegated or whatever. It's got some kind of colour variations in it. Obviously a fairly bright orange, because, you know, it's me. And I got 5 of them for a tenner, and I'm assuming they're about 100 gram ball each. They certainly look like 100 gram ball each. As I say, they were bargain bin, so they're from this random stall that just was selling like these really odd bits and bobs, like, and there must have been mill ends and stuff like that. So it doesn't have the fibre, it doesn't have the weight, it doesn't have the yardage, it doesn't have anything. It has a phone number on, so if it's terribly, terribly wrong, I could ring them up and complain. But they were this cool little store, and I was kind of asking them, you know, do you know what it is? You know, and she just said, well, it's just these cones that we found in the warehouse, and we got it balled up to sell. But for £2 a skein, even if it's like pure British wool, which is scratchy sometimes and not very nice, is more expensive than that often. and it's a gorgeous orange colour. So I was like, I can't really go wrong. And I've got enough to do a decent sized project. So I could use these for toys. Toy Kells are happening now that October's kicked in. One's already going for FO and Die. That's a podcast that's got a toy Kel that's already started and is going till November 9th. And then the Bakery Bears, in conjunction with somebody else. Who is it? I can't remember who it is. Sorry, my cat just dashed past. I'm just making sure he's not getting chased because I have to go and protect him if he is. Well, I don't have to, but I would do. No, I don't see another cat dashing across after him. And you can get back in if you need me. Bakery Bears are doing one in conjunction with someone else who I can't remember, and then there is a goat along with Smells Like Yarn, where a toy goat is an option for his goat along. So I kind of figured if I make a toy goat, that's 3 or 4 different podcast knit-alongs that I can enter it into. So I may well make an orange toy goat or something. Isn't that bad? I do want to make toys, and I do have some other toys that I want to make. I want to make a bakery bear. Dan K, I'm going to make one. Which means I have to buy the pattern now, so you'll get another pattern purchase. And I want to make some bunnies, because my other half is definitely a bunny lover. We have some stuffed bunnies and wooden bunnies and hairs and stuff around the house and paintings of bunnies. And obviously we lost our second little bunny guy fairly recently, which is why we now have the kitten. You have to wait to the end for the kitten, guys, so an excuse for you guys to stick in there and watch it. No, you can't just skip ahead. So I want to make some stuffed, little hands-made stuffed bunny for him, and I might make it out of the Angora. I'm not sure whether Angora would make a good toy, but, you know, a stuffed bunny made from Angora wool. How cool would that be? So yeah, I'm thinking sort of something like a toy or what have you for this, or something like a shawl that wouldn't go next to my skin, just because it's a little bit scratchy. But having said that, I now have my cunning technique of using hair conditioner. Thank you, Heather, again from the Countess of Blaze forums for that idea. So that might make it quite wearable, because my other shawl that was scratchy, that I also had on at Yarndale, was much improved by hair conditioner, and so that might work. So I'm going to have a play with it. I'm not entirely sure, but this is purchase one of many, so let's move on. The other stuff, I got this from the same stall, and this was another bargain bin buy. There's going to be quite a few of those. That's part of the reason why I've got quite so much stash, is because there were quite a few bargain bins. Yay for bargain bins! Jazz hands are coming out in force today, aren't they? So this is not one, but 2. Woo! Massive! Sort of hanks. I feel like they have to be called hanks because they've got too much to them to be skeins. Hanks of what they said was merino. Now again, it's not labelled up, but it certainly smells sheepy. It certainly feels lovely and soft. So I don't mind if it's not merino. It's soft and sheepy. That's good enough for me. They said about 500 grams. I haven't weighed them yet, so I should have about 1 kilo, which will do me for a whole jumper. And these two together cost me 20 quid. A jumper of hand knit yarns that are good, soft, squidgy, you know, skin safe yarns for 20 quid. Bargain! And because they're just a natural white colour, I could play with dyeing. So I'm thinking drop this one in some orange dye, orange and white. Or I could dye this one grey as well and have orange and grey again, because I quite like orange and grey as a combo. The grey is really nice, and this kind of ties in with some colour theory. Now I'm not a big artist type person, but I know some bits and pieces. And if you get a really good mid-tone of grey, other colours show much more true to themselves. So if you watch the... oh, what is it called? It's the podcast for leading men fibre arts. And what does he call himself? What's his podcast called? Ah! I can't remember. Okay, so check out Leading Men Fibre Arts and then go find their podcast. If I lived in America, I would be buying his stuff all the time. Shipping is just too much for hand-dyed stuff. I think I'm going to stick to mostly British for hand-dyed stuff from now on. Or European, because I don't think I can deal with importing. Plus, I still have a huge stash now, so I shouldn't need to buy anything else. But need is not really something that I pay attention to when it comes to yarn. Anyway, yeah, so grey and orange. Grey is... oh yeah, he has a grey card that he holds up behind his yarn, so you get a much truer representation of the colour. So you know how sometimes when you're holding up colours on podcasts, and you'll see people kind of going, oh, this isn't quite the right colour, it's and I sort of try and make sure I've got lots of daylight to really make sure it's a good colour on camera, which it is, but that's not always an option for people. And this is a good colour. But if you hold up grey, like a mid-tone grey behind it, the camera will use the grey for its white balance, which is when the camera's mucking about with shifting colours on stuff. That's what it's doing, it's auto-adjusting the white balance. And then your colours that you put next to the grey will show up more true to life, particularly if you have the grey in the centre, because that's usually where it focuses, and then the colour off to one side. So, grey and orange is a colour combination in knitwear. Are really complementary because the grey will make the orange really pop. Whereas if you just have orange, your eyes will naturally almost shut down. I mean, obviously they can't, but it's too much of a glare. So if you look at something like this that I have here, that's really bright. And if I just had a jumper like that, like my crocheted summer top, which has got lots of holes in it, so the idea is that what you wear underneath it would sort of dampen that down a bit, but you guys have seen it, it's crazy. I think I need to do something with that besides just fix the seaming. That would be sort of maybe a bit much, and again obviously with my hat I have orange with, and in the cushion I have orange with, brown in this case. It's good kind of dampening colours. So I was thinking maybe orange and grey, and then I could have some lovely combos. And then I could make a very similar, if not the same jumper as my orange and grey jumper already, but in gorgeous, gorgeous wool. So yay, £10 again for 500 grams. They were just giving it away, weren't they? So they were bargains that I got at Yarndale, and that is one of the things that I've realised is if you go to yarn shows, you get super, super bargains. And given that I tend to just want to buy yarn that I like, and then I'll find projects that match the yarn, that's a great way for me to do it. I don't tend to go, here's a pattern, right, now I best go and buy the yarn. I think for my stripy jumper, I may end up having to do that if I don't like the colours that I've chosen. But hey, we'll see, right? We'll see. This was all just, I have awesome colours in my stash. I'll make it out of stash stuff. Right, I've stuffed them all into big bags. So this is bag number 2. And this is going to be a quick bag as well, because it's actually just lots and lots of this. So this is Blueface Leicester, accreditation tags on it there. It's Aran weight, and it's by Sheepfold. There we go, Sheepfold. Blueface Ecru, which is just a natural white. And they've written batch 2 on here, so the lady was great when I was buying them. I took all of the ones out of the basket they had on display, and I was like, do you have more? I want like a jumper's worth. And so she went and dug out the stash bag underneath the display table. I was going and sort of digging through, how many do you want? Pulling out bundles of them. And I'm like, oh no, just one jumper's worth. And she was great. She chatted with me about, oh okay, well how much would that be for you? And then she got a pattern out for an Aran sweater and looked at what my sizing would be and then what the recommendations were for that sweater. And she was awesome. It did mean I ended up buying more than I thought I was going to get, so you know, there's a little bit of clever marketing in there, but hey, if it means I actually have enough, awesome! So I got 8 skeins of this. This is just 800 grams, but it's 166 metres or 181 yards a skein, which when I was looking at other patterns, I think 8 of those should be plenty for me. I'm not a wide chappy at all. I'm a 36-inch chest. I usually make a 40-inch jumper. Usually, you know, the one that I made before was a 40-inch jumper, and the one I'm making now is a 40-inch jumper. So usually make a 40-inch jumper. I usually wear a 40-inch jumper, that's more to the point. I went and measured the jumpers I have already, and they were all like 40 inch across the chest. I'm like, right, clearly that's what I like. So there's a bag, sheepfold bag full of sheepfold Aran yarn. This was slightly more pricey. This the ecru was cheaper than the natural brown, so I went with ecru. And again, I could dye it up orange and white or orange and grey or something like that. Or I might not just dye everything orange because I've got so much orange already. But quite frankly, I know what I like. Yeah, orange, and then shades of green and brown and a bit of blue. You can see my colours are just around me. Oh, and as I look in the viewfinder to talk about that, you'll see I've decorated this back wall. This is another piece of weaving that my aunt did. Now, I've hung it up, and actually at the back, at least in the viewfinder from here, you can't really see the detail of it. You can kind of just, I can only see like one lighter colour, and then it's all just very dark. It's actually got lots of shades of colour and a twill patterning and stuff like that. But it's just, I just thought it'd be really nice to have it up as decoration, given I was going to show my aunt stuff off today. So there we go. Just been to see her, so I'm thinking of a lot. And then I realised I had a good excuse to show my gorgeous throw, and I thought I'd chuck in the card and the scarf as well, because quite frankly, they're awesome. So yeah, another jumper's worth of yarn. This one was slightly more expensive, but I got the cheaper one of the options for certified BFL. So this is absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. BFL is amazing stuff. And it was about 50 quid for a jumper's worth. So a little bit more than I was hoping to spend. I was hoping to get it for 40. But she suggested, according to the pattern and what have you, that it would be worth getting a bit more, so I did, so it went up in price. And we'll see, if I have left over, then I have more for other projects, so we'll see what the jumper actually cost me in the end. Now, we come to the Goliath bag, which houses most of my stash, and that is my Yarndale bag. And thank you to my friends who I met at Yarndale, I made at Yarndale, my Instagrammer friends. Shout out to So Canny and Marywish. And hello to Grace, who are Smiling Robot. The Smiling Robot smiles like a robot. Something like Smiling Robot. Sorry, Grace. I can remember your real name though. Because I met up with her as well. They suggested I get this year's Yarndale bag because it was a bit bigger and a bit more to it around the side. So, and it's helpful because it's fitting all of my stash enhancement. Well, apart from the bulk purchases in here. So, having shown off this gorgeous bag, which is apparently no longer available because they sold out. Booyah! Exclusive! Let's go for showing what's actually in it. So on the top, because I always put my fibres on the top, is some gorgeous, I mean, you know, don't you, that as soon as I saw this, I was like, yeah, I have to have that. I have to have that. It's super, super, super orange! Hashtag orange! Fibre. So it's by Hilltop Cloud. Let's give the camera a second to zoom in on there. We go, Hilltop Cloud. And yeah, I mean, oh, gorgeous. And one of the things I found with fibre, and as I was chatting with people, they seem to agree with me, is that it tends to darken slightly when you spin it up. And I think that's probably to do with the fact that the fibres in the top are all in alignment, so light will just bounce off that sort of regular surface fairly evenly, so you get a bit more luminosity coming off the braid. And then when you spin it up, the fibres have been mixed together a bit more, and they're not as regular, they're not as even, what am I trying to say, parallel, they're not all in the same direction because they've been spun up and twisted, and there's different amounts of twists, and the fibres are all mixed up a little bit. And because of that, the light doesn't reflect off so evenly, it scatters. A little bit of physics for you, and I think that's probably why it looks darker. I think it's just not as luminous. The other thing that can happen as well is the darker colour in the fibre will wrap around. but obviously if you've got dark and light, you should still see the light come through. So I don't know if there's something about the way we perceive colour playing in there as well, a bit of biology or neuroscience to also explain it, but I think probably there's something about the light. So this is, sorry, you have to, I don't know about you, but I have to sniff. Natural fibres, you just have to give them a good whiff, don't you? It's part of the touch it, see it, touch it, sniff it, stroke it on your face. Yeah, the only thing I don't do is taste it. I don't really listen to it either, but I'm pretty sure everyone would agree with me that yarn fibre does speak to us, right? So it's called Ross, R-H-O-S, so I'm putting a little bit of a Ross in there. I don't know if maybe they're Welsh or anything, Hilltop Cloud, I don't know anything about them, except that they made this really gorgeous skein. So I shall have to check them out online, find out a bit more about them. But this is 50% merino, 25% Shetland, which I think is not necessarily as soft, but softens with washing. And it doesn't matter because this baby is super soft. And it also happens to have 25% half and half of mulberry silk and baby alpaca. So 12.5% silk, 12.5% alpaca. Baby alpaca, mulberry silk and merino makes 75% of this bad boy, and then 25% is Shetland. And it is just orange fluffy cloud. Oh, I could have a nap on this quite happily. Most fibres with these kind of combos, you just like, coil it up, just make a little bed and go to sleep. Lovely. And because I went to see my aunt after Yarndale, and she taught me spinning on a drop spindle. Last time I went to see her, we visited Woolfest together, and then I hung out at hers for a bit. Bit of fibre getting caught in the mouth there, excuse me. So I went up to see her again because it was close. More on that later. At the end of the stash enhancement. Get ready, Josh. Show me Lynn. Get ready, Maya. Basically, she was like, well, do you want to try spinning on a wheel this time? And I was like, well, I've got some fleece. Not fleece. Fibre. Fleece is what happens before this. Fleece, then fibre, then yarn, then knitted stuff. So, I have, ta-da! Some of it already spun up. It's not focusing particularly well on this, so let me just scooch a little close to the camera. Come on. There we go. So, you can see that there's massively different thicknesses throughout, but it's my first time. I'm trying to, so I'm going to get a bit of paper to get behind it. Here we go. This should do. So just so it doesn't keep jumping around. Come on, there we go. So, it's a bit dark. So you can see that it is darker anyway than the fibre was. And this is my first go at spinning on a wheel, so I was super chuffed. My aunt was saying that it's basically the same as, more fibre in the beard, the same as spinning on a spindle. Oh, sorry, I'll sit back. You can't see me, I'm just talking to me. Just look at the chest for a bit, guys. But it's faster because you are spinning and winding it on at the same time. And it did take me a little bit of getting used to, because it's really, the action of a spinning wheel is really clever. Once you get it spinning round, it's obviously twisting. There's a twisting action on the leader yarn. So you can see the twist going in, and you slap your fibre along it and let the twist run up your fibre, like you would with a drop spindle. Spin, twist in the leader yarn, feed off a bit, draft a bit, and then it shoots up into that. But either with your feet going, it was a 2-pedal one as well, which is awesome, because that really gave me a nice steady rhythm. If I get a wheel, if I get a wheel, then I'll want a 2-pedal one as well, because I don't like the idea of just having one leg going. I'd get ache up the side of my leg, I know, from repeatedly doing that action, whereas because you're pressing, you're pointing, and then the flex motion of the foot is supported by the press of the other. So you're supporting your own feet, basically. It's a bit kinder. But yeah, so it's spinning the leader yarn, but at the same time it's trying to wind the yarn on the bobbin. And you can adjust the various tensions of how much it's trying to do, whatever. And my aunt set all that up for me as a beginner so that it wasn't too difficult. So you kind of let the spin go up, and then once you're happy with it, you just feed it towards the spinning wheel, and it soaks it all up. So if you're drafting one lot and then feeding the other lot of yarn onto the bobbin, then you let the spin go in, and then draft and feed and spin and draft and feed, and you're kind of doing this sort of, and it just keeps going until you've got a little bobbin full of the stuff, which is amazing. So this was this is 2-ply, and I worked down and up one bobbin, and then down and up another bobbin, and then plied them together. So I plied it on the wheel as well, which is very, very cool, off of 2 bobbins. And my aunt was showing, I underspun for a bit because I overspan on my drop spindle. I was finding I overspan a lot. So I was trying not to do that, but I actually ended up underspinning, and my yarn kept breaking, basically, because that's what happens if you don't have enough spin. The pull just means that it just pulls it, and the fibre isn't going to grip it enough. So she was showing me about, allow it to go overspun a bit, because then when you ply it, that will help to take out some of the overspin. But as it is, it's still fairly active yarn, and I have a little bit. I had a little bit left on one bobbin, which I'm sure is usually the case, and we left it as a single. So I've got a little spindly single there. Where's my bit of paper? Little spindly single there, all tied up with blue yarn, so you can't really see. It just mostly looks like it's got lots of blue in it, which it doesn't. Which is very different widths, because obviously the plying helps to sort the widths out as well, helps to normalise the width, and is very, very active. So you can't see that right now because it's wound up around itself a couple of times, so that's taken out a lot of the active, but when I pull it out to a single again, it's super, super active, super curly. But my aunt was telling me about knitting with active yarn. So if you think of like when you're using frogged yarn and you wash it and then hang it to dry, and that settles it a little bit, and you do that with hand spun as well anyway. And I haven't done that with this yet, but she said because it's quite active, if I hang it to dry and then put a weight on it, like hang a mug on a hook from it or what have you, and I use old shower curtain hooks to hang my yarn when it's drying. I usually just put a hook on the bottom just to ease out any of the kinks from frogged yarn. But it's not much weight. But if I put some weight on it, like a mug, then it will dry really straight, and then you can knit up with it, or indeed weave with it, which is what she often will do. And then when you wash the finished item, it will relax back into its active form, because you've stretched it whilst it's drying, and it wants to go back to its sort of comfortable setting, and so it tries to curl up a bit, so it can create these really interesting effects. And she was showing me a load of her weaving that had used that, and it creates these amazing kind of ruffles without any need to do, and it's literally just to do with how spun. In this case she was using lace weight or very fine thread, because it allows the fabric to bunch much more, so it's very impactful. But you can do it with knitting, and it would just create this kind of slight texture to it potentially. Or I could mix hand spun in with something else, so you get this interesting just texture from the different weights of the yarns and stuff. And people, when I showed this on Instagram, people were like going, "Oh, wait till you knit with your own hand spun, James. Wait, you'll be addicted." So I'm really excited to try it out, and to play with kind of textures and techniques that happen when you have activated and hand spun yarns. And I still have plenty of this to go, and plenty of other fibre, as I've shown you in my other podcasts. So I have a lot of spinning work ahead of me. I'm wondering if maybe I need to rent a spinning wheel or something. Can I do that? I'll have to look into that. Rent a spinning wheel. just so I can try it out, because they're several £100 I think to buy, and probably even second hand, still a couple of £100. And I've already just spent sort of a lot on yarn this year, and I should, you know, I'm going to Bakewell in October, and I know that I'm going to spend a bunch more money there, and basically I'm just going to scrimp and save the rest of the year. I'm not going to buy yarn for the rest of the year, basically, until probably Woolfest 2015. And I will have plenty to work through. If I run out, then sure, I'll go and buy some more. But yeah, but I'm kind of thinking, okay, yarn I want, and I do want to buy more yarn, and I love yarn, but I'm going to stop at buying a wheel. No. It's not going to happen. I've got a drop spindle that was given to me by my aunt. I'm not going to go and buy a wheel just yet. But if I could rent one for like a few weeks just to play with spinning up loads of fibre, that could be a good idea, and hopefully it wouldn't cost as much. Well, it shouldn't cost as much, but hopefully it would be affordable, reasonable. But I don't even know if it's possible, but I'll have to have a look. If you know of spinning wheel rentals in the UK, in the Derbyshire area, then drop me a line. Right, more stash, more stash. So this next lot I'm going to show you all comes from one vendor who I bought from at Woolfest, and then I was like, yeah, they're here again. And that is Ripple's Crafts, and that is in fact the yarn I am wearing on my head right now, and in fact this is a skein of exactly the same stuff because I like it so much. And I went, oh, she has another skein of it in stock. So, yoink! I grabbed another one. So this knits up to look like this, which I think is useful to know. And I loved it so much, I was like, oh, yay! And it's got the same little number on the tag, 27. So I grabbed it. And whilst she was there, I asked her about Ascent Storms, which is the name on this fibre, but it's also the name on the other fibre that I bought from her. And when I was talking about my hat before, I said I was going to use a 100% wool for my hat from her, because this is actually a sock yarn, so it's got 25% nylon. And I thought, you know, I can work, I'll use those for socks maybe, and use just wool 4-ply fingering yarn for something like a hat. But when I skeined it up, when I wound it up into a cake from the skein, I suddenly found it had pinks and yellows and stuff in there I wasn't expecting. And it kind of was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I had this idea of what my hat was going to be, and it was orange and browns with sort of pale creams in there, because I thought it was the same as this. So I kind of like, oh, okay, well I'll use the sock yarn for my hat then, which is super fine. It just means it'll be a nice hard-wearing hat. Great. So I went and said to Helen, who is the dyer and the stall lady, she does it all the dyeing and stuff on her own, but she had some lovely Scottish ladies, well, one Scottish lady at least, helping her out, because Helen's based up in Scotland, and one of the ladies on the stall did come over with this gorgeous Scottish accent, chatting to me. And at first I wasn't sure which one was the dyer, because I'd forgotten who I'd spoken to. Because I'd spoken to Helen at Woolfest, but I hadn't established whether or not she was the dyer in my head at Woolfest. And it was a bit busier. The store was busy at that time. I went at the end, towards the end of the day, to Yarndale, so the store was just me at that time, so I had a good chat with her. Hi Helen! I don't know that she's necessarily watching, but, you know, shout out! Yeah, and she was explaining to me that Ascent Storms is her dyeing technique, not the colourway. The colourway is the handwritten bit. So this is colourway 27. So I'm really chuffed that I managed to get another skein of this, because they are unique, one of a kind, and then that's it, they're done. And she can't repeat them, because the dyeing technique is such that she's not able to repeat them. What she does makes these one of a kind yarns, and probably this skein and this skein would even be slightly different, but obviously it's sort of the same colours, probably in roughly the same quantities, so they'd certainly be able to go, I'd be able to use the leftover from this with this in the same project, and if I needed to alternate rows or whatever, depending on what I was doing, then that would be fine. But I've got these lovely, lovely colours in this lovely, lovely squishy yarn, so I am very happy. But yeah, the 27 on the label is the colourway, and Ascent Storms is the technique. So I got another Ascent Storms, which is the 04 colourway, and as you can see, it looks completely different. Yes, this one's blue and white. So yeah, Ascent Storms, I thought, ooh, oranges and browns, it's like this amazing kind of stormy colours. No, it's the dyeing technique that's sort of inspired by the storms in the Ascent region of Scotland, which is where she's based. But I think this is absolutely gorgeous. This is kind of like sea foam and all those kinds of things is what it makes me think of. And no, I don't necessarily think they go together, but I do like blues. And I could do with a bit more blue, and it was reduced. So I was like, bargain bin! So I grabbed this one, and this one is 100% superwash merino. So I shall be making something, not socks out of this, possibly a shawl or something out of this. I think blues, particularly this kind of blue, by my face works really well because it brings out my eyes. I have very blue eyes. Let's have an eye moment. Eye moment for the camera. Hello. Yeah, that's my eye colour. Oh, and my eye wrinkles. I just caught them. I caught a glimpse of them as I was pulling away there. I was just like, oh dear. It's because I smile a lot. Love it. I am who I am. So I think something like this would make my eyes pop, which is why I often wear blue t-shirts and stuff as well. I really like blue for that. And I've had comments to that effect before, which is lovely. And there's a slight kind of... I mean, I quite like the dark and the washed out blues, and there is this other blue which is almost a turquoise. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus in on just that bit. Yeah, the colours usually show up okay on the vid, so I hope you can kind of see. Sort of just here, and it's speckled throughout. There's a bit more of a turquoisey, cerulean or cyan kind of blue, so it's quite a saturated blue, and it gives it a bit of pop, but it's not necessarily what I want too much of. So I'll see when I pull it out onto the Swift and cake it up at some point. I'll be able to see the colour mix and what have you a bit better as I'm doing that, and I'll see therefore what I use it for. But really, really nice. And then I got another major bargain. This was £3 for 100 gram of superwash merino, right? And this is a gorgeous, and it's called hot chocolate, a gorgeous brown. And it's pretty much a solid. Oh no, semi-solid actually. There is some colour variation in there when you look at it. It's just because I just went, oh gorgeous, chocolate brown. It's kind of more of a coffee brown really, I'd say, or a dark. No, dark. It's a dark milk chocolate brown because it's between milk and dark chocolate. But you know how marketing people name your colourways and name them something tasty because we buy stuff because it sounds tasty. Who was it who was talking about this? I saw another podcaster talking about how we buy stuff just because of what it's called. Oh, I can't remember. I'm sorry. I apologise to whoever that was. But it works, guys. Yeah. So stall vendors, particularly if you're an indie dyer, pick good names. Names sell yarn. Oh, it was because it was the Outlander one. Was it? No, or maybe I just thought about it because the Outlander one, because the Outlander yarn by Vullenvine, who does the Yarngasm podcast, check me out, I'm learning everyone's names, she created the Outlander colourway and has had so much demand for it. Now it is a gorgeous colourway and I would love some. It's over in America and shipping, and I have way too much stash now, so I'm probably not going to buy it. But it's quite similar to what I call a kingfisher. It's got blues and oranges in it. But it's been massively popular, and I think a large part of that is going to be not just the fact that she makes gorgeous yarns, because I think she does, but the fact that Outlander, the book and the TV series, is really, really trendy right now, and everyone's like, oh, Outlander yarn, I can make something to watch Outlander in that's going to be all kind of tartan and what have you, and it's got the right colours for it. But it's crazy, we do that. So it's called hot chocolate, even though it's not really a chocolate colour, it's just a nice dark brown. But it was cheap as well, and it's semi-solid brown, and I love my browns. And I asked Helen, and her shop assistant, because I was like, this is really cheap, and she had some other sample sizes that were for the same price, £3. And I was like, I'm going to ask, because I'd feel bad if she actually let me get away with buying it for £3 when she'd only priced it at that because she thought it was a sample size. She'd made a mistake. So I said, look, your other 100-gram skeins that you've got on offer are not as low as this. You've priced this the same as your sample size. Are you sure? And she was like, yeah. I was like, awesome. Because I hate, honesty, people, integrity. It just makes me feel awful to try and con people. I was hoping against hope that she would stick to the price tag, even if, you know, like part of me was going, oh God, sell it to me for £3, even if it's a mistake, please. Smile sweetly. I'd have been like, will you sell it to me for £3? That's what I'd have said. Because I don't mind being cheeky, but I want to be honest. And she said, no, apparently there's a bit of tangling that's happened in this skein. So again, when I take it out and start to play with it, I'll be able to see what that's like. But to save sort of £8–10 on a skein of superwash merino that's from Ripple's Crafts, yeah, I don't mind sitting and untangling yarn. And then finally, because I got 4, I remember eyeing this up last time and forcing myself, because I think Woolfest is bigger in terms of there's more stalls. So obviously I'm running around and I want to buy something from everybody. So I had to buy less from everybody. So this time, because I knew there were various people that I liked, I was like, I can buy a bit more from the people that I know I like now. So I got the one that I was eyeing up last time. And that is Winter Bracken and Heather. So this isn't an Ascent Storms technique. And you can see, compared, it's got much more solid lumps of colour in the skein compared to something like that. And actually, although it looks fairly solid, when you skein it up, it is actually different. So I'm going to be really interested to see, because I've talked about this before, different sort of ways of adding the colour to the yarn, and then what that ends up looking like. Because at the moment, I kind of go, oh look, yes, it's a mix of colours, but you can see it actually kind of goes orange, white, brown on this, pretty much, and that's it. And that causes this kind of effect. Whereas this, you kind of get the golden topazy colour, there's sort of a reddy, maroony type brownish colour, so you've got topaz brown, orange with a darker strand in it, some just bright orange, and some almost greeny brown, mustardy kind of colour at the top there. And you can see those all the way scattered down the skein and then repeated. So that's going to look different when I knit it up, I imagine. And I'm really interested to see how that's going to come out in comparison. So if you guys have any hints and tips on knowing what a yarn is going to look like knitted up when you're buying it in a skein like this, I would love to know, because any sort of advice and what have you, and shared knowledge, that's kind of what I love to do in my podcast. I just tell you guys everything that I'm learning. But I would love to learn from you guys as well. And you can do it in the YouTube comments, you can do it in my Ravelry forum. So I have a Ravelry group, Dancing Geek Podcast. Dancing Geek is all one word. Please hit me up if you can have some suggestions as to how that's going to turn out. But if not, I will just enjoy finding out by experimentation. So there are my Ripple's Crafts goodies. Love! And you can see that I've got a little bit of orange, a little bit of brown and blue in there. But orange is definitely the theme of my Yarndale acquisitions. So this is another known vendor. There we go, that's what I was trying to think of. So there's another person that I met from Woolfest. Oh, actually, I saw their yarn, but I didn't meet them. Again, I went along to their stall at an odd time, presumably, because there wasn't actually anyone around. There were people, it was, now Woolfest is organised by Wool Clip, and they had a whole corridor because they're made up of lots of little people, so all of Wool Clip had their own aisle. and they had information desks there and cashier desks and lots of stalls, and they were all manning everything. So there were people around, but there wasn't like one person just sat at their stall. So when I went along to Wildwood Wool by Jean and Cecilia, sorry, my apologies. I thought I got that wrong as I said it. There wasn't actually somebody sort of sat at their stall, but there were people around, so it wasn't like it was unmanned and I could just walk off with anything. Not that I would, not that I think anyone at Yarny Festivals, Woolfest would either. But you never know. Sometimes somebody might have just been taken by overcome by yarn fumes and tried to run off with something. So I didn't get to meet either of them. But Jean was at the little stall that she was sharing with a lady that did some pottery stuff. At Yarndale. God, all these festivals' names are now, I'm getting myself confused with them. So I got to meet Jean and said hello. Now you guys know that I'm quite effervescent, and I was pretty much myself there at Yarndale as well. And bless her, she did look a little bit shell-shocked by having this chap, this 6-foot chap in a bright orange hat and a bright orange badge and a big rucksack on his back. Jump up and down, kind of going, oh my god, I love your stuff! And then thrust yarn in her face, and she's going, yeah, that's Cecilia's actually. So sorry, Jean. And I don't know who out of the two of them dyed my other one as well. But it's lovely, lovely stuff. I really like the colours, this lovely autumnal colours, which reminds me to do a shout out for October House, who I just heard about via, somebody I was watching last night. I did a massive podcast binge last night and watched loads of podcasts to catch up. And somebody was talking about the fact they'd just come across October House on Etsy. And she does a lot of autumnal colours all year round. And I messaged her and just went, I love your stuff! I wish it was cheaper to ship to Britain. And she was like, yeah, me too. Because it costs what it costs, guys. But she has loads of stuff in these kinds of colourways, and I was just like, love, 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 love. So my Christmas list now consists a lot of her yarn, as well as some others from other Etsy vendors, but I've got an Etsy favourites as a wish list, and it is, oh my god, just so much. So many of these colours. But I have some already from Wildwood Wool, which is gorgeous. This is a sock yarn again, it's their Wildwood sock yarn, so it's 75% BFL, 25% nylon, which just means it's gorgeously squishy and bouncy. 100 grams gets me 425 metres, which is plenty for my socks. I have quite small feet, so I usually have some left over, which is great. I'm going to have scraps for some kind of sock yarn scrappy project in the future. Who knows what that will be. And I've talked about Jean and Cecilia before, but yeah, Wildwood Wool. They're not really on Ravelry, but they're on Facebook. Wildwood Wool, all one word, is their URL. Facebook.com/Wildwood Wool. And apparently Cecilia is a member of Ravelry, but I don't know if she's active or not, because Jean sort of said she gave me what she thought was her username. So I will be trying to hit her up on Ravelry as well, and just kind of going, come on guys, put yourselves on Ravelry, because I want to link and follow all my favourite, and we want to have a forum where I can gush about how lovely you guys are. And I don't know that I don't know, do they must sell online, but they have a Facebook page for fans anyway, at least, and they're gorgeous, so check them out if you can. Just squish, gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. The Ripples Craft stuff is usually just wool, so it's not quite so yummy, but for stuff like this it's absolutely brilliant, and it feels really like it's going to last, so it's good for socks. Reliable Sock is a sock blend, she calls it Reliable Sock yarn, and the colouring is just gorgeous, so you know, it doesn't have to be super soft all the time, because sometimes you need something a bit more hard wearing. Right, who's next? Ooh! Oh, I can't decide, there's so many goodies. I'm just going to pick. There we go, I've picked. I knew what I was picking as I picked it up, didn't I? Yeah. So, I have a thing for, and quite frankly, who doesn't? If you don't, you're insane. Manos del Uruguay Silk Blend Check it out. It's that lovely cloudy blue and white patterning again. Sea foamy. Just love it, love it, love it, love it. Now, their silk blend is 70% wool, 30% silk, and I'm pretty sure it says in here it's ultrafine merino in silk. I got a single skein because my clever little scarf that I've showed you guys before only needs one skein of this, and I think I need a blue scarf of that kind, so I will have a green one, a topaz one, and a blue one. And I was just saying about how blue next to my face looks good, so I'll be able to wear a blue scarf when I'm wearing, say, my orange jumper or something. And I just absolutely loved the variegation in that. I saw it and was just like, yes, need. And I think it says the location is Dragon and the artisan is Claudia, so thank you, Claudia, in Uruguay for making this. Is there a place called Dragon in Uruguay? I need to get an atlas out, don't I? But yeah, I absolutely love Manos del Uruguay, and there we go. I don't think I need to talk too much about them, I've talked about them before. Right, next. Ooh, now. I think it's okay to show this. I say that because I intend this to be a gift, but it's a swap with Katie from Germany, who is designing the Bartley pattern cowl. Bless you, Katie, for making me a pattern. Well, for making the world a pattern, but inspired or for me or by with me. I don't really quite know how that what the correct pronouns for that are. But basically, she got in touch and said, "I'm making a pattern. I'm calling it Bartley because it's orange and this is slowly making its way off, isn't it? It's going to be an orange thing, and would you like a cowl, and do you like cables, and what do you want it to look like?" So I got to put some input into that. It's very exciting, and it's hopefully going to be finalised fairly soon, and I will be able to test knit it. Oh, I could have bought... never mind. So we're doing a swap. She went to Wollmeiser recently, Wollmeiser, and got me a couple of skeins of something gorgeous looking with lots of orange in it. So she said, and she loves orange as well, so she said I should buy her a British yarn and make her a nice lacy scarf out of it. A bit like the one I was just talking about. So I'm going to make her one of those, but not out of the Manos del Uruguay, which I thought I might do at first, but out of some British yarn. And so I went with Blacker yarns. And this is called Blacker Swan because it's made from Swan Inlet, Falkland Islands wool. And there you go, there it is. So Katie, if you're watching, this is what I'm going to make your scarf out of. And she showed me the stuff she wanted to get me, so I feel it's cool to show her the yarn. It's not a surprise or anything. But this is British grown, British sheared, British spun, British dyed, by a British firm that supports British breeds. So I was like, this is pretty darn good for a swap, for an international swap, to kind of showcase Britishness. And it is a really nice soft yarn, which surprised me, because often when it's British breeds, it can be quite scratchy. But this is lovely and soft, so whatever they've done works amazingly. It's the colourway is called Hawkweed. I don't know anything about Hawkweed, I've never heard of it before. And it is quite a yellowy orange, but I hope Katie will be okay with that because I think it's still a really nice colour. And it's going to knit up perfectly into one of those scarves. So, I actually have a project in mind. I managed to buy one thing from Yarndale with a project in mind because most everything else, I just bought it because it's pretty. I mean, I bought a jumper worth of a couple of yarns, didn't I? So the white yarns I bought with the intention of having a jumper's worth of those, and I'll make a jumper with them. But this, I actually know the pattern. I have the pattern picked out, and then I bought the yarn, and that's because it was a request. So there we go. That's the only time it's going to happen, guys. If you request something. Okay, so Yeah, blacker yarns. If you want British stuff, have they got a? There we go. A bit of blurb on them, because I think it's worth doing a shout out for blacker yarns. It's called the something fibre company. I can't read it entirely writing, but the yarn brand is Blacker Yarns. It's spun by the Natural Fibre Company in Cornwall. So it's all these British stuff coming together. So Blacker, and this is called Blacker Swan because it's Swan Inlet Farm where the wool comes from, so they know the farm. Doesn't quite go as far as naming the sheep that it's from, but it's not bad. My hat feels like it's gone really wonky, I'm not sure. I don't really mind, but there we go. Does it... I don't think it necessarily clashes with this, but it's a bit of a mix of colours that I've got going on right now, but yeah. Alright, let's finish this off. And then I imagine the stuff in the pot's gone cold as well. I wondered if I left it in the pot if it would stay warm. But we'll see. I don't think so. Oh! It did! Oh! Well, that one's a bit sweeter. And that's really nice. I think I've been converted! Right. Another British sort of setup to give a massive shout out to. I had a great time chatting with these guys at Yarndale, and they are... Oh, I was going to try and do it without showing you the yarn, whatever. Come on, camera. There we go. The Little Grey Sheep. And they're like, British knitting and weaving yarn! And I was chatting to one of the ladies there, and she was like, we were talking about, because I commented on her signage, and I really liked it, and she was like, yeah, like it feels really, like for her, it felt really like excessive to have stuff like completely made in Herefordshire, I think it was Herefordshire, or completely 100% British, because it's technically spun in Devon. But everything else is done on their farm. So it's Susie and Emma that create this wool. And the sheep are raised, looked after and sheared by Susie. She's a shepherdess. And I had an amazing conversation with her about when they shear their wool, the fact that she does it in winter, which is when the sheep need the best quality wool, so we get the best quality fleece. But obviously, you know, the instant reaction to that is, oh my gosh, poor sheep. But the whole point is she then overwinters the sheep in a barn with lots of lovely dry straw and warmth and shelter, and they're like coddled over the winter, and then they have their lambs in comfort, and then when it's dry they head out back into the fields again. And she said often people will shear late spring, early summer almost, and that the fleece is sort of old by that point, so it's not necessarily as good. And she was telling me some other stuff about sort of the greasiness of the fibre or the strength of the fibre, because once the sheep start shedding, obviously the fibre starts to get thinner so that it will break off and shed. And so you get sort of thinner bits maybe in the fibre, or weak parts of the fibre, which is no good. And so she's like, so she was kind of explaining why their fleece is super good quality fleece. It says it's then washed in Yorkshire and spun in Devon and then hand dyed on the farm by Emma, who was the other lady there that I was talking to. And oh my gosh, look at this colourway. Isn't that just beautiful? It's kind of like burnt oranges with a little sort of hints of browniness and some pales in there, and there's so many different colours in here, all kind of subtle shading around the same one that creates this lovely variegated yarn. And it is so bouncy, it's really bouncy, and soft again. And even in the skein, it's pretty soft. And I asked her if she had something, smells gorgeous as well. Yum yum yum, sheepy, lovely, slightly scented, maybe, or maybe that is just the sheep smell. Oh, but it's gorgeous. I love sniffing yarn. I do hope the vendors don't mind me sticking it all in my face. Where was I going with all of that? I was talking about the colourway and then the softness. That was it. It's the type of wool is Stein Stein, Stein, which is apparently a cross between two other breeds whose names I can't remember. And they had two kinds. They had Stein and they had something beginning with a G, which is a denser wool. The shepherdess. So the shepherdess lady, Susie, was telling me all about the difference between the two wools that she had, and she had some examples of the fleece that you could also buy, but I bought the finished yarn because I don't have carders and stuff, and it was actually sort of fleece. It was in locks form, and I'd have to do quite a bit of work to it. And I've already got some alpaca locks that I need to sort of learn how to deal with, but my aunt was saying alpaca I can sort of spin from the locks fairly easily, so fingers crossed that works. Big shout out to my friends that gave me the alpaca a while ago now, when I started to get knit crazy again. And I'm learning to spin, guys, and then I will spin the alpaca once I need to level up a bit before I can do that. So yeah, and it's lovely and soft. And I asked at the time because I felt a couple of the yarns were maybe just not super soft. You know, spoiling myself with lots of BFL. And I said, do you have like a knitted sample? And she was saying that, yeah, when she dyes it, she doesn't do an after wash to soften it. So when you do your blocking wash, it will then soften up again, and wool naturally softens up over washing time anyway. Over repeated washes, I mean by that. Anyway, so the knitted up sample, I was feeling it was like, okay, yeah, that is slightly softer than the skein. And actually, now that I come back to it, the skein is lovely and soft anyway. And yeah, I would say it is neck safe. Particularly if I put, again, a bit of hair conditioner on or something, if I found I'm a little, because I am quite a sensitive chappy, you know, us boys are a bit wusses when it comes to wearing wool. So I've got some tricks now. Wash it a couple of times, use hair conditioner to soak it, and I'm sure it will be absolutely delightful on the skin, but as it is at the moment, it's absolutely fine. So that's a big shout out to the Little Grey Sheep at Well Manor Farm, but it's thelittlegraysheep.co.uk. So if you're into your British yarns, or you want to try something new, I'd not heard of these guys before, Yarndale, and I don't know how long they've been going, but I didn't get the impression they've been going very long from what they were saying. I could be wrong, but it sounded like they were still sort of building the business up, and I want to give them a massive shout out because they were great. They stood and chatted with me for ages, told me all kinds of useful, interesting things, and they're lovely people. So what's not to love? Right, next is another new to me Brit producing. This is 5 Moons. Huh, what a cool name. Now, I'd heard of 5 Moons because I recognised her naming convention. She had Luna for stuff that hangs around. She tends to name some of her repeated bases, I think, according to different moon gods and goddesses. So one that I can remember is Diane, which is a moon goddess. And Luna means something that's going to hang around for a while, and then she has comets, which are like one of a kinds passing through. And I was chatting to her about that. I was like, so comet versus Luna, what's that about? And she was saying that actually sometimes she sources a limited quantity of a particular yarn base. It might be the end of a run at a mill, or something that she's not sure about, so she doesn't want to say that she's going to do it permanently, or all these kinds of things, which are reasons why she produces something temporarily. And also it might be a dyeing colour or a technique that is temporary. So she has this idea of comets, which are coming and going, and I think that's lovely because it means it's really clear as to whether, if you think, well, I'll buy one skein, and if I need another one, I'll get one later, as opposed to, no, I best make sure I only want this for a project where I'm not going to need more than one skein, or I don't mind shrinking it if I run out of yarn or whatever like that. And again, What colours did I go for? The oranges! Oh dear, oranges on point. Ka-ching! A little shout out to my Come Knit With Us buddies, Kim and Sam. Hi guys! Hi ladies! Mwah. So this one, the much brighter one is Penitent, and then the slightly darker one is Flapjack. And again, I love Flapjack. So, you know, I was going to have to get that anyway. I think the colours are coming off a little bit brighter on the camera, maybe. This one is quite a burnt orange, almost a light brown, which maybe you can see with that. It's like my little face blurred out in the background. This one, however, is almost a neon orange. It's a real kind of bright citrus popping colour. And I got two 50-gram skeins of the solids because I was looking around at colourways and nothing really grabbed me as a colourway mix that I needed to have, and I thought, well, I'll just try out a little bit because I like to support indie dyers and get to know them, and it's an opportunity to give them a shout out on the podcast. And it was orange, so I wanted to buy it anyway. But there was some colourways that I thought, I do like that, but not necessarily enough to buy a bunch of them when I haven't bought from her before. So like with Ripple's Crafts rather, where I bought two that I thought were the same. And then I go back and like bought four completely different skeins that I love. I've bought one skein's worth, effectively 100 grams, but in two different colours, two different solids. And I'm thinking toes, heels and cuffs for my socks because it's 4-plies. And she did, when I mentioned it to her, she was like, oh, I've got some like 20 gram or 30 gram samples down here, you should have got those. And I'm like, I could have exchanged it, but actually, you know, when you buy little samples, obviously it's a little bit more cheap, a little bit more expensive per gram because you don't get the bulk discount of buying a bigger skein. And these worked out at about the same price as 100 gram skeins. Yeah, they're about half the price of a 100 gram skein. So I was like, actually, I'm buying a skein worth for the price of a skein. These were £6.50 each, so it's £13 for a skein of hand dyed, which is pretty reasonable, pretty kosher. Particularly because you're getting it at a show, so there's no postage and what have you. It says hand dyed in the Blackdown Hills of Devon. So cool. And she was a lovely lady. I actually was chatting to her husband originally. I bought them off her husband because she wasn't in the stall or she was away or what have you. And then I was off at the stall opposite buying the Manos del Uruguay and just cooing over that when he popped over and went, oh, she's back. Because I was like, oh, you know, I wanted to meet the dyers and chat with them. And he was doing the very loyal husband thing of, well, I'm manning the stall and I can sell you stuff, but I'm not really a person to talk to about it all. So he called me back over and I went over and had a big long chat with her. And she was like, hello. And I was like, hi, I don't really have anything to say, but I wanted to say hi. And she was lovely. She was like, yeah, don't worry. We're all crazy in this community. So I felt very relaxed and at ease immediately. So thank you very much. I'm afraid I have forgotten what her actual name is. So apologies. I think it might be Sarah or Claire or something, but I could just be making that up. In fact, I'm pretty sure I am. But Five Moons, definitely another one to check out. These do not showcase her colourways or her yarn at all. So go and have a look and see the kind of stuff she's got. Because, like I say, there was some really, really lovely stuff. I'm always cautious the first time I buy. And also, this was later in the day and I was starting to feel the amount of yarn I was carrying around and going, I've spent a lot of money now, so I didn't quite splash out as much as I would have done otherwise. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing some heels, toes and maybe cuffs in contrasting colours for my socks from now on. And I've missed, I think, the heels and toes knit along with, I think that's Foxes and Socks, to get their sock yarn with contrasting orange mini skein, which is gutting because I think that looks like an awesome combo. But nah, you know, I can't do all the knit alongs. I try, but I can't. That is gorgeous. And having that little sweetness in it just makes it, I've got such a sweet tooth that it really just makes it so much more palatable. Right. There's about 5 more to go, guys. Another indie British dyer. Whoop whoop. I'm not a big fan of the labels, just because they're oversized, really, for me. And then it's just a sticky label on it. But the yarn is really, really nice. And I actually had to get about 4 of their yarns and put them side by side and force myself to pick one. So I went with the Moon Wheat colourway, which is 100% blue-faced Leicester from Fraelin's Hand-Dyed Fibres, who is up in West Yorkshire. And there is the Moon Wheat colour. Oh, it's a high twist sock yarn, so you can see the really sort of that almost bobbling effect along the yarn, because it's really high twist. Maybe if I hold it a bit closer, yeah, you can definitely see it there. And you can see it's kind of got 2 colours, so it's kind of a really nice golden wheaty colour and a lighter brown, it's maybe straw and wheat and that kind of thing. So those lovely wheaty colours, moon wheat. So I think of what, wheat in moonlight, and oh, there's actually maybe a 3rd colour in there, which is a slightly paler yellow in there. So if I just hold that bit up to you guys as well, so you can see the 3 colours I think that are in there, but that middle one there I think there's not so much of it. I think it's maybe a transitional colour. But I thought they all looked gorgeous, and I was like, ooh, another indie British dyer, I have to have a skein of their yarn. £14 for this, so again, sort of pushing up the price a little bit, but still not over the top. I've seen some much more expensive than that when it's like art yarns and stuff that are crazy prices. So yeah, totally worth checking out. She has an Etsy shop and everything. So this is the label, and you can kind of see it's just a big piece of cardboard about the same size as the skein, with then a sticky printed label stuck on it there with the price and the colourway and stuff. And it's just a bit clunky. You know, it's so not a big deal. And if that's the only thing I've got to complain about, then you're doing all right, yeah? Ow, I just bit my cheek. But yeah, so that's another one that I shall enjoy playing with, and nice little sheepy, quite a faint sheepy smell on that. It's not the strongest smell, which is fine, because, you know, I'm doing smell reviews of yarn now. Adding this to the little leaning tower of wool that I now have next to me. So they're another new to me that I need to check them out. And I was asking them all, are you on Ravelry? Are you on Ravelry? And not everyone was. So come on, independent dyers, get your butts in gear, social media. In fact, I was handing out my little like calling card thing with my name, and you know, I'm on Ravelry, Instagram and YouTube, kind of little thing at the bottom just saying, check me up, hit me up, come say hi, I'd love to sort of chat with you online or what have you. And I was really surprised a lot of them were like, oh, social media, oh, I try, and they were talking about Facebook and Twitter, and I'm like, ugh. Like, they are social, but I think as a vendor, Facebook and Twitter, I think are probably one of the worst platforms to be on. Now, I could be massively wrong. I'm not actually a vendor. And maybe people who've been out there and tried stuff find Facebook and Twitter really, really good. But, and I suppose it's good for making your brand jump up during somebody's everydayness. Like, you go on Facebook or Twitter doing your everyday stuff, and then you see this little yarn company photo, what have you, and it sticks in your brain. And certainly there's a yarn shop in Nottingham that I have yet to make my way over to, who's like won an award for the 2nd year in a row now for best East Midland wool shop. So clearly I have to get over there, called Knit Nottingham. And they're on Facebook, and they keep popping up with lovely yarny photos and giveaways. So that kind of does work. But if I'm on Facebook, I'm not in yarn mode. And I'm certainly not looking for yarn for my project, and I'm not able to look at what yarn she has that matches projects I want to make, or what brands of stuff she has, or look at her pricing and stuff. And I think something like that is much easier on places like Ravelry or Etsy and stuff. Now I know some people don't like Etsy and consider Etsy like you start off on Etsy, but as soon as you can you move to your own website kind of thing. Which is cool, but Etsy for me is great because I can favourite people and then I can go back and pore over things to buy myself a treat and have a wish list. Whereas for people that aren't on Etsy, I have to really connect to them as a vendor in order to keep track of them. Because it's harder work for me, and I'm a lazy git. So there you go. That's my little bit of social media nurse. But yeah, I was handing out my cards because I was like, well, if you want me to do a social media shout out, let me know, because I'll big up my independent British dyers. It's been so great hearing about other people from other British podcasts, like Fond and Fibre through Stitched Together. I heard about her and a couple of others. Felt Fibres, is it? Oh, I don't know. I think they had a stall at Yarndale, but I didn't get anything from them because it was mostly just little bags of fibre, and nothing grabbed me straight off. And I was like, I've got a lot of fibre now. And there was somebody else, I can't remember off the top of my head. And then obviously Countess Ablaze, who I went up to see, who much love to her, who I'm now big friends with on Instagram and what have you. So those guys I have a connection to now, so I will keep track of them and see what they're selling and what have you. But if I haven't met you at a yarn show, then why am I going to go to the effort of finding you when there's all these others? I need you to be up in my face. Anyway, moving on. Yes, you had a bunch of independent dyers. There's not a lot of bargain bin basement happening there. I got myself a little skein or two at full price, but bargain bin basement at the bottom of the bag. How's that for alliteration? Try saying that 10 times fast. I got myself another Araconia. I don't know. I think maybe it even has an oh, what are they called? Is it Sedilla? The little wavy line over the ends. It's Araconia or something. I honestly don't know. But it's a Ranco. It's their basic 4-ply sock wool, 75% wool, 25% polyamide. Showmailin. Polyamide. That's my attempt at a Swedish accent, right? It's just polyamide. I think polyamide and nylon are different. Okay, so people feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's listed in English on here as polyamide, and I see polyamide and I see nylon, and I believe they're different. I believe I've seen someone talking about polyamide being different to nylon. It might be nylon is a specific type of polyamide, because nylon is a brand, I think. We made nylon in chemistry class, I remember, in sixth form. 2 chemicals, one on top of the other, and they float, one floats on top of the other, but where they meet forms nylon, and then you hook out with a little tool or what have you the bit where they meet, and if you keep pulling it, it forms this nylon thread. So we were passing it round everybody in the class, and it made this one long continuous nylon thread. So cool, so cool. Science nerd. And yeah, so it's a basic sock yarn, but it was in a bargain bin. It's a nice colour. They had a whole load of them, but there was lots of pinks and peaches and stuff. But this one's a sort of a russety red. So I thought that'll do me, and it was cheap for 100 gram of sock yarn. So not as cheap as some of the others. I think it was £4, which I've seen it going for before. And I think it normally retails for like 5 or 6, so it's not a huge discount. But I'm like, it's a bargain, and I can't resist, so I bought it. And it's, you know, it's good to have some stuff that's not maybe my favourite. Like I have special stuff, like some of the stuff I was telling you, and then I have stuff that's not so special. So I don't mind experimenting with, or just chucking it in a project if I need something to fill it up or whatever, or I'm more interested in just playing with colour, and I don't worry so much about the fibre content and stuff. It's good to have a mix. Right, and there's kind of a bit. In fact, everything else now is a bit like that. So let's grab this up here. No, I'm going to leave it down, that's awkward. So another one that's a bit like that is this. It's a Superwash Merino DK. Gorgeous bright orange again. But this is by Signet, who I've only ever seen as an acrylic brand in local yarn stores. So I was like, oh, okay, they do sort of merino and stuff as well, 100% pure new wool. But it's superwash, it is commercial, it's a basic DK solid. But it was £3 for 50 grams, so again, it's not the cheapest. But I thought, well, I'll just try it out, and the same kind of thing. It's a bit of something to play with that's not sort of fancy. So £6 for 100 grams rather than 13 for an indie dye. It's good to have stuff like this, and I kind of, if I only ever buy indie yarns, I will kill myself trying to buy as much yarn as I want at that price. And I think I should treat indie yarns as a staple treat. That's what I kind of think. I think buy indie because it's much nicer, but supplement with commercial yarns in order to save money. And that seems like a sensible way to go, right? So I just grabbed this from one of those stores that were just selling lots and lots of bagged yarns, really. So not quite the... I think Woolfest is a bit more picky. I think lots of people try to go there and they're a bit more picky about letting just commercial stores. I think it has to be something you've got a bit more involvement in the making of. But they didn't have many of these. There was maybe 2 or 3 stalls at Yarndale that were kind of... In fact, no. Maybe there were 2. There was definitely one. Because I got this from that one, and might have been another one that was kind of just commercial yarns, just kind of wholesaling, or just kind of no postage, just flogging it off kind of thing. There was another one where I got some of my bulk discounts from, where they had some interesting stuff that was like that kind of bargain bin, but they had some other bits and pieces as well, so it's a little bit more interesting. Some local yarns and things like that to them, and some fleeces and stuff, so it wasn't just commercial balls of wool, and other than that everyone else was sort of artisanal, so they obviously sort of look after that as well a bit at Yarndale. So yeah, that's that one done. That's not as interesting. This one, or these 2, I've got 2 little mini skeins. They're kind of peachy soft orange, but these have a lovely little story behind them. I was thinking about I could wear them as earrings. What do you reckon? My Instagram-y people, friends that I made at Yarndale that I mentioned earlier, Mariwish was there with her daughter, who does also have an Instagram account, but I can't quite remember the name of hers. I'm sorry. And she was, they were I bumped into them again, I bumped into them a couple of times as you do, and they were saying that they had gone to Lal Bear, who is an awesome indie dyer, but she's closing down. She's retiring this year. So I chatted with her and she said she is going to Bakewell. So when I go to Bakewell and I have a fresh budget in my, completely psychological, I'm going to basically buy out her store. So you best get there early, guys, because I'm going straight to Lal Bear and buying everything I can get my hands on dirt cheap. And then I'll go again at the end and buy everything that's been super discounted that's left. But that she, her daughter had gone and bought some mini skeins, and that Ursula had basically gone, oh, okay, well, do you like orange? And just kind of tipped the rest of them out into this bag for her, and she was like, oh my god! And I was like, oh my god, you got all the orange mini skeins, no! So bless her, she fetched 2 out of her bag and just gave them to me and said, here you go. And I was like, oh, bless you, thank you so much. So I have 2, they're sort of semi-solids, sort of quite a light peachy orange, but they will be lovely for sort of a contrasted something. They look like they're closer to DK than 4-ply, but I'm sure I'll find something to use these for. And I've no idea what fibre they are. They feel like they're just sort of a generic, possibly acrylic actually. Yeah, or maybe an acrylic wool mix, or a really just wool, but standard wool. So I have no idea what they are, because obviously they just got given to me as a little friendly gift. Thank you. So yay! So I've got a couple of these. Thumbs up. Right. And then there was one stall that had a couple of different bargain bins, and this is all the last of the things that I bought. So I got some, what is this? The label's trash. It's made in Romania. It's called Classic Yarns, and the logo is RY, so maybe it's Romania yarns or Romanian yarns, and it's called Classic Yarns. It's called Cash Soft. This is the, so I'll show you the label rather than just looking at it and reading it to you. So there's the label. You can see it's all a bit bashed up. And there's the yarn. But basically, it's just a squishy ball of gorgeousness. It's a mix of natural and synthetic. It's 57 extra 5 merino, 33 acrylic microfiber, and 10% cashmere. But actually, that combination of three is really, really lovely and soft, totally skin safe. Doesn't really smell sheepy or anything because it's obviously a commercial yarn. But it was in a bargain bin, so I just grabbed a lovely little green, sagey green, which I do like. Sort of similar to, slightly different, but similar to the yarn I got on sale that I used for this. So I do like that colour. Oh, I just put the ball band back on it. There we go. And then they had a ridiculous bargain bin, this place. £2 for anything in this bin. There's all sorts of stuff, notions and needles and yarn, or £5 for 3, and I found 3 things that looked interesting. So I've got a random ball of something orange, slightly tweedy-ish, heathered maybe rather than tweed actually, yeah. You can see it's held together just by a little red elastic band. No idea how much there is. It's not that heavy, so it could be 50 grams, which for £2 is not dirt cheap. But actually, I got 3 for 5, so it was 5 divided by 3 is 1 2/3, so it's £1.67. But I thought it just looked fun. And I just thought, well, you know what, I'll just grab it and have a play with it. So I got that. I got a random pale brown sort of caramel skein. This looks and feels much more like it's going to be 100 grams. It's maybe an Aran or even a chunky. It's probably just a wool. It does smell woolly, so it's probably 100% wool. All this wool sniffing, actually, I can feel I've got a slightly scratchy throat. So I'll just pour myself. Oh no! The very last of my tea! Which actually has a bit of goop in it, which I'm guessing is from the teapot. So I'll just sip. And then there's that last little bit of goop in there. So. Lovely. So a little light brown bit, and then this. So I actually got some Manos del Uruguay lace, and I was eyeing up the lace they had for sale on that, and there's this gorgeous variegated green. But you get it in a 50 gram skein, and it's like £13. And I'm like, Jesus, oh my god. Now it is 70% baby alpaca, 25% silk, and 5% cashmere. So there's a reason it's expensive, and it feels amazing! And I got this for £1.67, but it's black, so you can't really tell, but if I hold it up close you can see, yeah, it's a bit tatty, there's bits of fluff in there, so it's going to need untangling, washing, there may be breakages in the yarn because I can see more than 2 ends there. So, you know, I'm going to have to work to get this back up to sort of top notch. But to try out lace weight, which I don't really have any of, and it's Manos del Uruguay, which who I love, and it's really, really nice yarn, I'm willing to put in a bit of work to get that dirt cheap. And as I said to my aunt, I said, if nothing else, this will make really good sort of thread for sewing things like noses and mouths and eyes and stuff on toys. Because it's a nice, thin, fine, black yarn. And they'll be super, super soft. So, if all else fails, I'll use it for that. But I think I actually will manage to use it for something a bit better than that. Oh dear, my hair is escaping again. I'm sure it doesn't bother you at all, but it just bugs me slightly. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all of my stash from Yarndale. Whew! I haven't even got a clock running, so I did, but I forgot, of course, that my phone would turn its screen off. So that went off ages ago, so I haven't got a clue how long this is. And I don't care! Woohoo! You either sit and watch this or you don't, and that's fine. Right? We all agreed. I've had so many people telling me, it's cool, James. Do what you do. Don't worry about it. And I love that. Like, how affirming is that? The crafting community, you guys specifically, and the crafting community in general, are awesome. I had somebody message me and say, it's, you know, it's one of those, they forgot that other communities weren't like that, that they didn't just accept you as you are, on face value. You just rock up and be you. You know, if you feel like you're crazy, or you're weird, or you're alternative, or you don't fit in, or you don't get it, or you're awkward, or you're socially anxious, or any of that stuff, we don't care. We're like, we love you anyway. Come and give us a hug, or not if that's not what you want to do. And how cool is that? How just and I get so much out of that. I think that's who I am as a person, and I spent ages trying to find people like me, and then I started to get involved in the knitting community and the crafting community, and I was just like, I'm home! I found my people. So yes, this is why I love you guys so much, because I just feel like I am one of you. Right, so the last little thing I have down for Yarndale, which, just to let you know, is the first of my Stash Love section. The others are a lot shorter. Is Lynn and Josh have been talking about atlases, and I did shout out to them earlier, and that's because I did want to do a little atlas section. Woo! So let's just check. There we go. Okay, we can see. So the orange dot is Derby, which is where I am at the moment. That's where I live, and you can kind of see that Derby is pretty much in the middle. It's like equidistant from the coast in sort of all directions. You've got the Wales sticking over this side, and you've got oh god, what's it called? Is it East Anglia? I always call it the butt of England. Anything below Derby, I don't know really that much about. But I think it's East Anglia and Norfolk anyway, and all that kind of place over on the left. But the Midlands is kind of this bit here-ish. It kind of runs down a bit more into here. Birmingham is West Midlands. And then Chester, often that would be northwest, certainly Liverpool and Manchester are northwest. But Lincoln is Midlands, so you can kind of see there's a bit of a slope to how that fits. But the Midlands, it exists, okay? Yeah, English people from the south call us Northerners, and Northerners call us Southerners. We're from the Midlands, thank you very much. Welcome to the Midlands. Shout out to Claire from Student Knits. She's up in Leicester at the moment for work. So she's a Southerner, but she's been introduced to the Midlands, and we're going to do a meet-up probably at Bakewell, which is the next wool show, if not before. And Bakewell is somewhere around here, slap bang in the middle of the Derbyshire Dales. So that little green bit above Derby is the Derbyshire Dales, which is the little patch of gorgeousness that I'm closest to. The red dot up at the top is Skipton, and that's where I went to for Yarndale. So you can see the journey that I made, driving up the motorway and then across to Skipton. That was a 3-hour drive. I took my time. I could have done it in less time, but one, that would have been very naughty, and two, I've started to realise that I'm getting a bit too much about the destination and not enough about the journey. And so I was chatting with my therapist about this, and she was like, just... And we talked about what I was going to do when I went to Yarndale, and she was like, make some sandwiches, drive up, have a break, finish driving up, just be chill, and then when you meet people you're going to be really chill. And I thought that sounded awesome, and I had a great time, and I was totally myself, and I wasn't stressed. Although I did get a wee bit stressed because I walked from the car park and I tend to storm when I walk, and I realised I'd done that and I got back into this, must get there, destination, head again. And then somebody decided to stand in the frickin' doorway. And so there's the one entrance into Yarndale. It turns out you can go to the sides and go in, but it's not obvious. It's like the Yarndale hub is right in front of you, and it's the only obvious thing to go into Yarndale in. And that's where they had all the bags and badges and stuff that was Yarndale merchandise, and the maps. I stuck my little Derby orange dot on the map, and they had a global map as well, which is kind of cool. It's like people actually travelled internationally just to come to Yarndale. That's crazy if they have. I like the idea of them travelling anyway and then making this part of their journey. But if they travelled just for Yarndale, that's kind of insane. And the sort of yarn-covered bikes and various other things anyway in there. But it's only a single doorway into that and a single doorway out of that into the exhibitions. And someone just decided to stand in front of that door to look at something in front of me. And I was like, what is it? Now I get it, because standing in doorways is a really common thing, and I think it's that whole kind of, you come into the space and that's when you meet, so you see someone, you go, oh hi, and then they come over to you and you're chatting. But come on people, let's have a little bit more consideration for other people and generally for through flow, yeah? Because through flow is something that annoys me when people don't pay heed to it. James's rant of the week. If you stand in the doorway, you cause a traffic jam. And this is the same thing as on the motorway when people slow down to rubberneck, which if you don't know is when there's an accident, say on the other side or in another lane, and people slow down to gawp at it. Just don't do that. If you slow down on a motorway, you cause a traffic jam behind you, and it can last for half an hour. Because as soon as you brake, the car behind you has to suddenly brake, and then the cars either side of them suddenly brake because they don't know what's going on. And then because you've got everybody a mile back just coming at normal speed, the traffic suddenly builds up and it gets denser. Denser traffic means slower traffic, and this is the same on foot traffic. And all of a sudden there's this log jam of traffic, which then has to clear by the people at the front speeding up and eventually kind of changing lanes, and the people that want to go fast overtaking, and off they go, and the people that want to go slow going into these, and eventually it will clear and the flow will get going again. But it can take a long time, and sometimes traffic jams of motorways are just rubbernecking. There'll be an accident on the other side and there's a traffic jam on my side, and I can promise you I am cursing out every single one of you when I see you slow down to go up, because I'm in that fast lane trying to go at the speed limit down the fast lane down the outside overtaking lane, but because the accident's on that side as well, they've all pulled over into the outside lane to have a look. Ugh! Stop it! Move it! I don't want to have to undertake you, okay? Because that's not good. I hate the idea of having to undertake people. I have done it. A long time ago. Don't tell anyone. Oh, I feel like I'm going to get myself... I'm waiting for the police to start coming out. You've done what, young man? But if you're not going to even do the speed limit and you're in the outside lane, you are seriously causing a hazard, basically. And I think at some point you have to just take common sense into action and just kind of go, you've got to get past this person, because what the hell are they doing? They're driving dangerously, and you know, you drive behind them, you try and encourage them to move over, they're not having any of it. And encourage is encourage, it's nice. It's like, I might pull up behind them and then pull back again, just so they know that somebody wants to get past, I want to get past. I don't go in for this flashing lights and indicating like, I think that's obnoxious. I'll then pull back in and drive up behind them again, but on the other lane, so they kind of to kind of go, look, I want to get past, but I don't want to undertake you, and then pull back out again to kind of go, look, it's like, because the movement in your rear mirror, if they haven't seen me, the movement in the rear mirror they'll know I'm there. They can't miss that because your peripheral vision kicks in. So they know I'm there, they know I'm behind them, they know I'm kind of going, look, I want to go past you, and they're still not making any thought to move out of the way. I don't know what goes through the head of people in that situation. I don't understand it. I've never been in that situation myself. I wonder what it is, but I think in that case, maybe it's okay to undertake them, so long as I do it safely. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I was going to be like, James. Anyway, rant over. So yes, other than that short burst of going into destination mode and then getting angry at somebody blocking the path, because there's only so much calmness I can muster when I want to get somewhere and someone's being silly and blocking the way. I had a really chill day and it was awesome. And I did have my ham sandwiches. And then I had some more ham sandwiches at Yarndale. Well, after Yarndale on the way for my journey home, because I was hungry. So you will notice there's some other dots on there, because I thought, well, whilst I'm doing some Atlas stuff, I would add some other dots in the area. So we have the blue dot. Double checked, yes. The blue dot, which is Lincoln. That's actually where I grew up. It's not where I'm from. I was born just over here, near Liverpool. And so actually, technically, I'm kind of a Scouser, but I was born on the wrong side of the Mersey to claim to be a Scouser, because some people say that's like the wrong side. It's like the posh side of the Mersey and the Wirral, and you're not allowed to be a Scouser if you come from that side. But I actually was nearly born in the tunnel. There's a little tunnel that runs here, because it's actually separated. This part and this part are separated by the river Mersey, the River Mersey. And I was almost born in the tunnel, but Mum just managed to decide to go to hospital rather than going through the tunnel, and I was born technically in the Wirral. So I'm sort of Scouse, and actually I spent the first 2 years of my life roughly living in Scotland, so no wonder my affinity for Scotland and all things Scottish and my Scottish accent is maybe not so bad, because actually as a wee bairn I did technically live up there. But I don't remember any of it, because I don't really remember anything before we moved back down to Wirral Way, and then we moved across to Lincoln when I was 4. So that's where I grew up, but it's not really where I'm from. But I've stuck it on there because you can see pretty much all of this is what's called Lincolnshire. It is huge, and it is one big flat cabbage field. It's a bit more interesting these days, but I grew up there and I found it dull, and I never want to go back. But I thought I'd show you guys where I was from, so you can see I haven't moved that far away. And the yellow dot over on the right hand side here is the holiday I was telling you guys about when I showed you the pottery and stuff. That's Snowdonia, so that's where Snowdon and the little national park around there is. And then the green dot up at the top for Kendal, that's my aunt. So you can see she's a fair whack away. And actually, if I've done the drive to Skipton, I might as well nip up and see her. So it was a really lovely thing. And actually, it was the only weekend she was free for quite a set of weekends either side. So it was really good timing. So I was chuffed with that I actually then went and saw her. And then I drove all the way down from Kendal to home the next day. So yeah, a little bit of Britain. And yeah, I tried to put it in context, because I suddenly thought, oh, actually, yeah, I've just printed off a slice of England. So there's the north of England and then Scotland going off here, so there is a bit more England off here. But if you look at a map, you'll see this is Wales, and this is what I call the butt, or the arse of England, because it's the big sticky out bit. And then you've got the south of England, I'm doing probably about here, and the north of England probably about here, and then Scotland are going up. So it's right slap bang in the middle, which is where I am. Yeah, and then middle height-wise and width-wise, Derby is almost the centre of England. And that doesn't make it the interesting centre, it makes it probably the most dull place. But Derbyshire Dales are lovely, and there is some good art stuff that happens in Derby, so that's good. Okay. Right, and I wanted to show you that because I thought I would do a little bit of where Yarndale was. And, oh yeah, the green dot for Kendal is actually where Woolfest was as well, because that's where I went up to Woolfest. So they're both up tall. And Bakewell, I should have put a dot in for Bakewell. In fact, I've got my stickers just over here for when I did the map. So, what colour shall we have for Bakewell? Where do I put my stickers? I am a nerd. I have them sorted by colour. Yay! I think that makes me a geek, right, when you do that kind of thing. Bakewell. Bakewell sounds like a blue kind of a colour. I kind of used up all my different colours already on the map, so I'll have to repeat a colour now. Blue for Bakewell. And I'm roughly guessing, because my geography isn't great and I don't have it labelled on here, all the others were already labelled on the map. because I'm clever like that. So I'm going to say it's roughly here, because I know it's about an hour away, so I do have to go up through the Dales a fair chunk. Anyone with better geography, you can feel free to correct me, but I don't care. When I was in France for a year, and I was teaching English for a bit, one of the students was asking me where various places was. So I drew this really naff sort of triangle for England, and they were like, where's Manchester and Liverpool? Oh, well, actually, no, that's if they've studied English a long time. These were beginners. So it's like, where is Manchester and Liverpool? Because they had really thick French accents. And I drew them on, and if you look at the map now, you can see them. So let's do a zoom in. In fact, I had a second map. Excuse me leaning over. I wasn't going to use this, but now I am. Yes, which they are on. But this is a slightly more zoomed in, so it's better quality. There we go. And you can see that Manchester is ever so slightly north of Liverpool, but they're kind of both up in the corner. So I just drawn them both up in the corner, Liverpool, Manchester. But somebody that was also teaching English in the department was from Liverpool. And she came in and just went, oh! Manchester's north of Liverpool, not the other way round. And I was like, well, I don't know, I'm from Derby, I don't have a clue about. Actually, at that time I was from Lincoln, because I hadn't moved to Derby at that point. I was like, I don't know, they're both up in that northwest corner, it was only rough. But she got very offended, so there you go. If you know Nottingham, because Nottingham's quite internationally known, if I just hold up the little Midlands section of it there, can you see? Oh yeah, there we go, that's better. So Nottingham slap bang in the middle of the screen there, and Derby's right next to it. So I'm right next to Nottingham. So think Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood, all of that. People have often heard of Nottingham in other countries, and we're right next to them. So that's another way to think of it. But yes, Bakewell, to get back to where I was, is somewhere there. So it's pretty much slap bang in the middle of the Dales, I reckon, from what I can remember. So it's a bit of a drive through the country to get to it, but I'm not complaining. That sounds amazing. And it is. It's in the Dales countryside, and it's beautiful, and I have been before. So I'm really looking forward to that, because it's going to be all sheepy and countrysidey and gorgeous. I'm looking at myself again in the video and thinking this doesn't necessarily work as an outfit, but whatever. I'm going to leave it on just so you guys can see it. Who cares, right? It's my show, it's my podcast, and I'll wear what I want to. That was a song that I was parodying, by the way, if you thought that was just me making random stuff up. It's my party and I'll cry if I want to. Okay, so that is everything I could possibly do from Yarndale, although I made a note that I was going to do a shout out to say, Hurdy, it's the same people I got my stitch markers from. I think I did say, so if you recognise that as looking a lot like my stitch markers, yeah, the Hurdy stuff is where I got my stitch markers from, and that's hurdy.co.uk. I was going to do an actual shout out, I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, so I thought I've made a note, so I thought I'd just double check I did that. Right, another thing that I have bought since my last podcast, but it's not yarn, but it is yarn adjacent, yarn related, is I got myself some toy fluff, and it was on offer, so I got 2 bags. So yeah, I got it from HobbyCraft, which is a total chain, and it's 250 gram a bag. It looks fairly well stuffed in here, and when I posted on Instagram, people were like, "Oh my gosh, you are gonna have like you're gonna have to be making toys for ages to use that up." But I don't know, because I'm kind of like, well, do you not want your toys to be fairly well stuffed? Like, I think I'd want them to be fairly firm. Excuse me, that suddenly seemed a bit odd. Fairly firm. So I think I might stuff it quite well, quite firmly stuffed, as it were. Everything's just sounding rude in my head now, I'm sorry. Ooh, look at the colour shifting. Woo, woo, woo. There you go, the camera. Sorry, I'll stop doing that, that's annoying. So I got that for the toy knit-alongs that are happening that I mentioned. And actually because there's a little something that I intend to make somebody who I don't think watches the podcast, but I'm going to be very vague because I haven't decided. It was a oh, wouldn't it be nice if I did that? And I think I will. But there's more on that in a second, so I'll talk about that a bit more later. Not the friend, but the making stuff for other people. So I got those. They're not that interesting to look at, so I can move on. You don't want to coo over the colours of white fluff. So the other stuff that I've got is because I have more lovely people who send me things. Yay! So, one is Tegsy on Ravelry, who is Terry in real life, and he has a podcast on YouTube, so Tegsy Podcast. He is the yarn... Oh, crikey, I should have written it down. I thought I knew it. The yarn... I want to say the Yarn Wanderer. Links. I will definitely link. But he is brill. He's got about 11 episodes out, although someone messaged me this morning because they'd recommended him to me, although I actually happen to be following him already, and said, oh, he's got a new one out now for you to go and watch, so I should be watching that later, and so should you. He is a solo chap, Knitted Brit podcast, so whoop, shout out to him. And he would have been in my list before, but I don't think he was, because I think I found him just after I made my solo male podcasters list. And I need to do another list for doing shout-outs. But I've just had so many lovely things, other things to do in the podcast, that I haven't felt like I've needed to do that. I haven't. And the other thing actually on this is I've started to try and kind of really get a sense of whose podcasts I'm going to be really strict about watching all of them, and who I might just kind of catch on an ad hoc basis, which feels horribly mean. But you know what, I'm sure some people will do that with me, or they'll only watch half an hour, or they just won't tune in anymore because these are way too long for them. And I just have to go, you know what, that's okay. It's okay. It feels horribly mean to kind of go, I'm not going to watch all of your podcasts, but you know, I don't have much of a life, but I think even if I watch podcasts 24/7, there's enough of them out there that I don't think I could fit you all in, so we'll see. But that means I might do shout-outs for people who I think need more love, or shout-outs for people who are my top faves, or something else. But I'm sort of in the midst of organising them, and I know for a fact I am missing out loads on podcasts, because although I've got 2 separate groups at the moment that I've pulled out of my absolute sort of favourite people to watch, because I think they're brill, and so I see all of their podcasts listed in those groups on YouTube, but the one I put everybody in, that's like 60 podcasts at the moment, doesn't show all the posts that people make. So I know I've been missing videos for like the last 4 weeks. So as I split everything up into groups, what I'll probably do is I'll cycle through little collections. So I'll have my absolute faves, who I'll check first, and then I'll have group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5, group 6, and I will sort of cycle through those a bit and kind of make sure that I'm watching a bit of everybody. That seems like a nice way to do it. And that way at least I will have seen some of your podcasts and I can chat with you and say hi, because I want to connect with everybody, so I can't just stop watching anyone. I'm not going to do that. That's no good, because then I, won't have an excuse to write to you about something, or to shout you out, or to join in with what you're doing. Although even then, so many knit-alongs and stuff that I can't join in on all of them. There was a red cal that I couldn't do. There was a vacation cal I couldn't do. I shouted them all out in the last week, and there were so many I didn't manage to do. But I got Josh's done, and there were a couple of sort of through September finished objects that I managed to get in on, because I've got a few finished objects in September, so that was good. So yeah, Tegsy gifted me a pattern, and in fact, he's a mind reader, because it was a pattern I'd seen and got, ooh, and that is, on Instagram, the designer is acasalena_crafted. So it sounds like, I've pronounced it how it's written, ACASALENA, acasalena_crafted. And he's a designer, he does lots of shawls. And I was eyeing up one of his shawls because it was good versus evil. And I just really liked the picture of it on Instagram. And I think it's one pattern but photographed in 2 colourways to inspire you or something like that, or it might be 2 slightly different patterns. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's one pattern, but it's photographed in 2 different colourways with 2 different models, to kind of show you the good versus evil idea. And yeah, Tegsy just randomly sent it to me, just as a hey, keep being you, keep being awesome kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my god, you guys are making me blush. So I'm super excited by that. That's gone into my queue. I just have so much in my queue. It's going to take me a while to get around to doing it, but I will. Yeah, that's a given. It's going to happen. So thank you very much. And then another lovely person who is Emil Carve 1963 on Ravelry and Instagram is Emilia. And I mentioned her, I think, before because she gifted me a pattern of the Mystic Spiral socks by Josh, who is sort of a knitter. You have to watch him if you're not watching him. His podcast is awesome. He's another designer and he is brilliant. Solo male. Woohoo! Big up. Represent! And but she also had got in touch to say that she wanted to make me a bag. And as I was getting all of my stuff together this morning, knock 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 on the door, it's the postman! Emilia came and arrived today, just as I was getting ready to record. So I get to show you guys. I was super excited. So, not only did she send me a project bag, but she included a little bit of something extra in it as well. Bless you. I have to start though with the little envelope card that she sent me, because how cool is that? Yay! And it's crafted, so it's got, you know, the layers of card and stuff to make it stand out. You can see that. And it says, "You're a hoot!" And I'm like, oh, thank you. Oh dear, that's lovely. And she's got a lovely little card inside, which I have read already because I did have to have a look through some of it. So a lovely little card inside. It's beautiful, beautiful pattern. And she's written to me, sending me big hugs. So thank you, Emilia. I'm not going to read it out because it's for me. But I love that. I love that. So I'm going to put the card back in to keep it sturdy, and I shall put that in my I've got a display cabinet of lovely little pretty things that sort of have either meanings, so there's like photos of my family and my mum and dad and stuff in there, my granny and stuff, and mementos from holidays or little knickknacks that I bought, and I'm going to put this in there with that as well because that's really nice, a little something. So that's really nice. I was suddenly thinking, have I done that with the others? I can't remember. I don't think so, because I think all Deb's stuff was knitting stuff, wasn't it? So even the stitch marker, I was like, that's gone in my collection of stitch markers. And Mixed Plate Knits sent me the bag. And I think there was a... I can't remember off the top of my head now, it's been a couple of weeks. Oh, I'm sorry. But if there was, like a little card or something in there, it will be in the cabinet, but I'm not sure what there was. I think it... No, it was a little written note on a post-it. And there was something else as well that I can't remember. Oh, it was a tag. It was like a tag thing. So I don't think I kept the tag. Oh, James! I'm sorry. But I kept the bag and I love the bag, I'm sorry. I love the... owls have googly eyes. Googly eyes! You can't really tell if I'm shaking it around, can you? But there we go. But she also included in here is Essential Luxury from A Verb for Keeping Warm. I'm guessing is the brand. Yes, because it's a verbforkeepingwarm.com. It must be on Etsy because that rings a bell, so I must have seen them. And it smells amazing. I have no idea what that smell is, but it smells really interesting. It's almost a... I mean, it's been in a plastic bag, so there might be a little hint of that going on, but it's a really interesting scent, and there's now a fly buzzing around. fibre in my face. The colour, is it on here? Where did I see? I saw the colourway somewhere. Or is it? Oh, here it is. It's under the fleece. Baked Earth from September 2013. It's 80% merino, 20% angora. Oh, gorgeous. So there's the label, and there's the colourway, and it is. She says it's. She says in the maker Christine says in the little sort of bump that comes with it that it's named after sort of the colour of terracotta, and it is quite like that. It is a red, peachy, rustic kind of a colour. It's definitely a dark reddy orange. I wouldn't call this orange if it wasn't for the fact that I love orange and I want everything to be orange. But it's a lovely colour, and it's a little bit more finer for me to play with, guys. So thank you, Emilia, for this as well. But as I said, she actually did make and send me a project bag. So I'm just going to stuff this in beautiful, solid little zip, sort of squishy lock bags. I'm just trying to do it without squishing the fibre, because I don't want to squish the fibre in it. There we go, that's popped, so that's really solidly tucked away in there, and I haven't trapped the fibre or anything, so that's good, so thank you. But, and I saved this, I even kept it in the little poly bag that it was in. I saved it because I was like, I've got to open this on the podcast. This has just arrived this morning, so I haven't even opened it. Check that out! Beautiful! So here goes. It's a beautiful little ribbon bow on the top, which I'm just going to undo. So it's a little bit dull for you because I'm trying to sort of try and do it up here, but it's a bit faffy. I could change the angle of the camera, but then that's going to shake. So instead, I'll just talk to you whilst I do it, yeah? This sort of beautiful thin green ribbon, and then it's this green crepe paper that it's in. So lovely. Yay! I love it when people do that with gifts. I don't, because it's so much effort. So I love it when other people do it, because it means they've gone to all that effort for you. So here goes the grand unveiling. Da, 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 da. Oh my gosh! Oh, the sweetie's falling out as well. Oh my! Emilia, you spoil me. Another gorgeous tissue paper to go on my little collection of beautiful tissue papers, along with the orange that I got from Deb. So I've got some Jolly Ranchers, which is so cool because I've heard about these. You don't have them over here. These are an American sort of crunch and chew candy. Candy, see? They're candy. They're not sweets, they're candy. So, yay! And are they apples? Is it? Oh no, cherry and green apple. But that's very fitting because look! It's apples! Yay, and they're red and green to match the bag. And there's some orange there as well. The orange, reds and greens. Very happy. And look how big this is. This is awesome. Oh, check out the lining as well, guys. Now, technically, I have seen these already because she couldn't bear to not share photos of them. And I don't blame her because once you've made something, you want to share the photos and be proud. So check out this lining. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah. Awesome. Check that out. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And it's got a gorgeous little zipper across the top and a little handle to hold it by, and it is it's flat bottomed, so it will stand up, which is wicked. And let's see now. Let's see how many skeins of yarn can I fit in here. Yeah, you get me singing. You send me stuff, you get me singing because I'm so chuffed. 1. These count as 1, 2. This is quite a biggie. 3. Ooh, and I think that's probably full, so let's do that up. Handy zipper hint. If you're zipping something that's quite full, can you see how I put my finger in underneath that bit of the zip? And it never catches on anything. Zip it across like that, pull out my finger and close. And there we have one stuffed baggie. So it's about 3 skeins, which is brilliant. So it could totally be socks, it could be a shawl in there even, and there'd be room for the project and the skein, and loads of room. So thank you very, very, very much. I'm going to hug it now. I've stuffed it with soft yarn. Oh, I am. I'm giving you this hug, Emilia. Do you feel it? Thank you so much. That is so, so lovely. And I'm going to come back to this in a bit, but your generosity is inspiring. So thank you. Check that out. And candy, and I want to have one now, but I'm not going to be able to talk because it says chew and crunch and chew, which means it's going to be, and it feels like a hard thing, maybe with a sticky centre. So I'm going to have to wait because it's just killing me because I'm hungry as well, because you know I start recording this sort of late morning, so it's gone lunch now and I am going to be well hungry. I'm not bursting for the toilet this time, thankfully. I went before and the tea hasn't set me off this time. But I'm really hungry this time because I talk so long. I'm going to have to like bring snacks as well as drinks next time. Or I could have a break, but that involves editing, and quite frankly I'm liking the whole just stick it up and trim the ends malarkey I've got going. Although I am going to buy some editing software, I think, because it's only like 30 quid or 35 quid, and what's really good about it is that I did use it for the last one and I'll use it for this one, so you'll have seen at the beginning a little watermark because I'm using a free trial, but it processes at quicker than real time, which if you've ever had to process video you'll know is surprising, and it shrinks the video to a really reasonable size, and for uploading to YouTube and potentially for you guys to download. I was talking to Cece from Geeky Girls Knits at Yarndale, and she was saying how she makes sure hers can also be downloaded, because some people like to download the whole thing and then watch it offline, which I hadn't thought about. So getting it a decent size for that as well is not a bad idea. And then, yeah, but it's super quick, it's decent quality, and it's ready to go up straight away, and so I can just trim it. So I don't need lots of editing malarkey now that I'm kind of just got used to just talking through the whole thing, but it's super quick, and so it might be worth it anyway. And then if I do decide to sort of edit more stuff in at a later date, I've got something, because otherwise I could just use a is it called a demux? It's like a codec. It's one of those weird technical terms, I can't quite remember what the right one is, where it translates video from one form to another, and you would put in, right, this is what form it is now, I want it to be smaller and lower quality because this stuff is gigabytes big, and there's no way I'm uploading gigabytes and gigabytes. It would take a week to upload the frickin' podcast to YouTube, so I shrink it right down, and YouTube's going to reduce the quality anyway, so I only need it to be sort of a reasonable quality for you guys on YouTube. So yeah, I can't remember where I was with all of that, but that's a little blurb about the technical stuff behind the podcast. Yeah, well, I was just showing off Emilia's lovely bag, wasn't I? Oh my god, seriously. So pretty! And I have 2 bags now! Yay! In fact, I wasn't going to show my socks, but now that I've shown Emilia, I want to show off I want to show off the bag that Ashley Lynn got me again, because yay! So now I have 2 project bags, yay! And what am I going to put in this one? Don't think I'll fit my jumper in here, because that's 6 skeins of yarn, because I'm using 6 colours, so it's a bit big. But what else have I got due to come up soon? I might use it for the toy cow stuff. That'd be good for putting a little toy project in, won't it? There you go. Right, so that is all of my stash love and enhancements and new things in. So, breather. And I want to have another drink now, and I've got none left. This whole having a little sippy is a really good idea. My throat is a bit dry from sniffing all that yarn, excuse me. But hey ho, let's move on. So, the next thing I want to do is my questions from you guys. So this is basically somebody stuck a thread in my group, and that is awesome. If you guys want to start threads in my group, go for it. Because if you want to talk about something, talk about it. That's what the forum's for. So that's on Ravelry, in my Ravelry group called DancingGeek, all one word, podcast, just in case you're not up to speed. And so there's some more questions this week, which is lovely. Knit-O, I call her. She has this beautiful avatar of a little kitty. Yay! Knit-O. And she asked, I'm pretty sure it's a lady because she's written to me as well. So I'm pretty sure it is a lady. I can't remember your real life name, I do apologise. But I know that we've talked. And she's written, this is my new favourite question. If you had a warning label, what would yours say? Have fun with it, James. So I had to think about this and I thought, this is interesting. And actually I've been told that I'm a bit frightening because I'm quite so energetic. And I've calmed down a bit in my old age, which, yeah. So if you think I'm a bit gabby and energetic on camera, I was kind of crazy as a teenager. I even once or twice playfully bit people. The shame, right? There was a little bit of repression working its way out of the system there, really. Yeah, it was kind of just always really super loud and a bit over the top, really. Whereas now I kind of think I'm just bubbly. And so people were sometimes like, whoa, you're just a bit much. So there might be a warning label for that, like, can be a bit much. But I actually got a bit upset by that label for a while and didn't like it. So I wouldn't necessarily use that. But what I would use is this one. Caution! Ear protection required in this area. Particularly if I laugh. Some of the guys that I met at Yarndale may have had this. I tend to laugh up like this because I know I laugh so loud that if I do it in your face, it's kind of like a physical attack. So I tend to go like that and laugh up into the air, and I'm still really freaking loud. So some of the people that were sat close to me when I laugh kind of go, whoa! But that's because I can laugh quietly, and sometimes I snigger, or I go and kind of fall on the floor when I'm trying to be controlled that something's really making me giggle. But normally I'm a loud chappy. When I'm in company and I'm being outgoing, I can be quite loud. But the rest of today I shall go and sit in silence and just knit, and it'll be lovely, and I shall rest my poor voice. And the other one that I found, I thought I have to have this as a warning, is warning, I hug. Because, as I've said a couple of times, big hugs, but only if you want them. And that's because I have learnt with some of my more reserved, introverted friends that I have sort of locally in real life, that not everybody's comfortable with hugging, even their friends, and that's okay. And I kind of, sometimes I'll still give them a hug, but I will always check with them first, can I give you a hug? And if I meet new people, I'll say, are you huggy people? Can I give you a hug? Because I've learnt to really respect that boundary. So I would probably have something like that, going, warning, I hug, so that people know that if they want to give me a hug, they can. I actually bought a t-shirt that says, free hugs on it, but it was way too skinny, so I gave it to my other half because he's skinnier than me. And then I bought another one with free hugs written on it, but it was a joke one because it had the egg sack from Alien just opening up with a little sign poking out saying free hugs. And if you don't know the film Alien, then you are missing out. It is seminal sci-fi work. It is one of the best films. It is frightening. It is really, really frightening. But it is absolutely one of the films that you must see. So if you don't mind a scary film, but you're not into sci-fi, watch it. If you don't mind a scary film, and no, if you, what am I trying to say? If you only like either one or the other out of sci-fi and scary, go and watch it, because it's good enough to carry the other aspects of it. If you like both, go and watch it. If you don't like scary films, watch it from behind a cushion. And if you don't like sci-fi, get over yourself and watch it anyway, because it's more about the people than it is about the sci-fi. Oh my god, I love this film massively. There is a quadrilogy, there's other films afterwards. They're not as good. They are, if you're a fan of the first one, go and watch them. If you love the first one, go and watch them anyway. Sigourney Weaver. Massive, massive fan of Sigourney Weaver. I do love me some strong female lead actresses, and she is one of the ones that if she's in something, I'll watch it. So I loved Avatar just because of her in that. So she's in Alien, and yeah, so free hugs. But yeah, I'm totally free hugs. If you ever see me in real life, you can just hug me. I have like zero personal boundary, but as a dancer, you get so used to having everybody up and in your space and pressed up against you, and occasionally, you know, naughty bits in face and all this kind of stuff. So I have no personal boundary at all. You can just come and hug me, and that's totally cool. Don't just come and stick your finger in my mouth though, because that's weird. But hugging and general proximity-ness is totally cool. So they are what I think would be my warning signs. And I did think that was an awesome question, so thank you for that one. Another one was Lucky Dog shouted out, tell us about Rory's tail. Is it a characteristic of a specific breed, or was there a door shutting incident? Ow! It makes me wince just thinking about it. And Seductive Barry said, I noticed that in the last video and want to know more. So yeah. And that was in reply to Lucky Dog, wasn't it? Yes, I'm not getting too confused. So yeah, Rory's tail. If you noticed either on Instagram or in the video, Rory's tail is really curly, a bit like a Chelsea bun. Shout out to Dan and Kay's Bakery Bears. I have to make some of those. I have been dying to make some of those since I saw them. I've been really, really, really busy since the last podcast actually, because I had a really busy weekend. And I just had stuff going on, which is great, but it means I haven't had the downtime to kind of play around with things like making baked goods. So I was so jealous that Josh almost immediately got a podcast out with Chelsea buns in. I was like, oh, Josh is showing me up. I've got to get my bake on now. So I should be doing those at some point, but I may not podcast it because, quite frankly, as soon as I've made them, they will be eaten. So Josh was very clever and made them just before his podcast. I shall make them when I get a chance, and I will eat them all. But, you know, hey-ho. But yes, so Rory's tail is all curly. And the story behind that is quite cool. Sorry, scratchy throat a second. As a kitten, we got him when he was 3 months old, and he did live with somebody before he came to us, and I don't know where he came from before that. And it was a friend of a friend that we got him from, and I know that person sort of indirectly, and they're lovely people and what have you. So I don't think anything bad ever happened to Rory really, but as a kitten, his tail did get broken in 2 places, and I've heard that that can happen with very little kittens. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. Watching both Rory and now Stitch as kittens, yes, the new kitten has been named Stitch. Tearing around. Kittens are fearless and will just throw themselves all over the place. So the idea that their tail might get broken, you know, it's this tiny, tiny little bones, is not surprising to me. So I think it's probably not a big deal. It could have been a door-shutting incident. I don't know is the answer. But yeah, his tail is actually technically broken in a couple of places, and it fused a little bit at an angle in 2 places. And so what that means is if he sort of tries to stick his tail right up, like a kitten normally would, it goes like that. Because he straightens his tail, and that's what it goes to. He can't actually get it straight. Not without kind of really weirdly tensing and stuff, but you know, you wouldn't. A cat is just thinking about stretching its tail, and to stretch his tail, he goes to this kind of a shape. Now imagine a kitten here. Oh god, this looks a bit like one of those facehuggers from Alien, a kitten running around with a tail like this, and you can just imagine that this part of the tail was smacking on everything left, right and centre. And clearly it was starting to hurt, because he figured out that he could curl it all up like a Chelsea bun and stick it on the side of his butt out of the way. Because he couldn't get it straight up, but he learned if he curled it up, it stayed out of the way. And so that's what he does. When he's running around and having a jolly, or exploring or what have you, he will curl it up. And when he relaxes and flops out, his tail will uncurl to sort of just that kind of wavy shape that it can be, which is awesome. But yeah, and to me it's just normal now, because my first little kitty that I've had of my own has a curly tail. So I sometimes see Stitch's tail and just go, oh look, his tail is so straight. Or I'll stroke him, and then when he walks through the stroke, like if you've got cats, you'll know what I mean, they'll walk through the stroke and keep walking, and you'll stroke their tail as well. And with Rory, I have to kind of hook one finger and let it curl around me. But with Stitch, I just swipe down the whole tail, and I'm like, oh, that's really weird. His tail is just like straight. Ooh, I don't like it. Of course I don't mind it, because I love them both. But yeah, so Rory's tail, yes, it's broken, but he curls it up himself to keep it safe, and I think that is the cutest thing. And yeah, lots and lots of people, whenever they see him, they go, oh my gosh, his tail, it's so cute! And it's not a breed thing, he's just a domestic short hair, ginger domestic short hair. But yeah, that's where the story of the tail is. That's where it comes from. So thanks very much for asking, guys. If you want to ask me another question, again, post it in the Ravelry group. If I don't get any questions, I just won't do that bit. That's absolutely fine. Sorry, I thought I could hear mewing. No. You can hear his name being said. But otherwise, there we go. Doug. Oh yes. There's one other thing I was going to do. I have had some people ask on Instagram and stuff, and people asked about the dance stuff last time, and other people have asked more dancey questions again on Instagram and stuff. So I have written, and in messages, that's the why I was thinking I'd shout on the podcast. I've had a couple of messages and I've written the same answer twice, and I was kind of like thinking, right, okay, if I just say it in the podcast, then I can tell everybody. So if you are interested in the kind of dance that I might be did, all of that, sentences, might be a sign I've talked for a while. I do actually have a website, a dance portfolio that I have online, so if I'm applying for stuff I can kind of go, look, this is my previous work. And it's at jamesbartley.co.uk, so that's my name, James Bartley, that's spelled B-A-R-T-L-E-Y. That's Bravo, Alpha, Romeo, Tango, Lima, Echo, Yankee. I was trying to look so clever there, and I just dive bombed there, didn't I? .co.uk. And that's just a little portfolio website, and it's got some videos of stuff I've done, some photos of stuff I've done, places I've taught, things like that. But if you want to go and check it out, you're more than welcome to, and that will just give you another idea of the kind of dancing I do. You'll see that it hasn't been updated in a while, and that's because I actually haven't done much dancing in a while, because the knitting has taken over my life. And I don't know, that might change again, it might not, we'll see. Things change. But I am kind of I change every few years into what I'm really into, and I kind of feel like maybe I might be moving out of dance and into knitting, which kind of doesn't bode well for my Dancing Geek name. I think I might keep the name anyway, because I probably won't stop dancing completely, and I will always be a dancer, but I will not be dancing, as it were. So yeah, there's that. So, that's all of the questions, and I can get on to community now. And there's some carryover from last week, because I suddenly was like, oh gosh, it's been 2 hours, and but everyone was like, no, don't stop, James, keep going. So that's what I'm doing today. And so I've got loads of community stuff, because I've got 2 weeks worth of community stuff to fit in. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier was just how inspiring people's generosity has been. And I see a lot of people doing giveaways in their podcasts, and you guys have just sent me stuff. And that's been so amazing. So I kind of thought, okay, I would start to think about, well, what can I do to pay it forward, really? And I haven't decided what form that's going to take, because it needs to be something that feels right for me. I don't want to get into a should place, where it's like, oh, I've got to do giveaways, or I've got to do something else. because I'm podcasting, and that's what a podcaster has to do. And people are sending you stuff, so you should give back. You know, that's a very sort of parental angry place, and that's not a nice place to operate from. I want to operate from a loving, sharing, caring kind of a place. But I did think last week, when I was talking about one of my historic FOs, I was saying that it didn't fit me, and I suddenly went, oh, I just had a thought, I'll come back to that, and I didn't come back to it. And that was this hat that I showed you guys last week. And the thought I had was, there's not much yarn in this. It is lovely, lovely yarn, but there's not much yarn in this. And it's lamb's wool, which means frogging it will quite possibly damage the yarn, because the other hat that I made, the yarn didn't look as nice after I frogged it. And I thought, what I could do is, I could use this as a giveaway item. So it's a bit small on me, but I use an adult large head. So I kind of figure medium or small adult or kids, it would probably be fine for. Yeah, it's only slightly tight on me, and I'm sure at a smaller size head it would be absolutely fine for. So I thought I could do a giveaway with this. I haven't worked out what it's going to be, so don't get too excited just yet. I haven't worked out how that's going to work or anything like that. And I quite like the idea of maybe finding a couple of different things to do this for. Now, confession time. Before I went to Yarndale, I'd had this idea. So I went to Yarndale with the idea of buying some stuff to do a giveaway stuff with, like little notions or whatever. And I got yarn vision, and the yarn fumes got to me, or whatever you want to call it. I went orange crazy, and I just forgot. I went there with a shopping list of stuff to try and look for stuff to buy, and I completely forgot everything on it and just went crazy running around the stalls. So I will try, no, do or do not, there is no try. I will go to Bakewell with my list again, and I know I'm going to do even better. That's still a try, isn't it, guys? I'm catching myself here. I pledge, I promise, I am going to go to Bakewell and I will buy some more bits and bobs for the giveaway. How's that? Oh, you see, it's a commitment. That's the bit that's scary. I don't like commitments. I'm all arty-farty flouncy. But yeah, so I would like to have a bit more than just some old hat that doesn't fit me to give away, because that feels a bit naff. But if you think that's a lovely idea, then give me a shout. I will try and have a thought as to what I could do for a giveaway. If you have ideas, feel free to share them. But I want to do something that comes from me, so this might be a personal thing that I come out with. If you inspire me, though, I would love to be inspired if you have ideas. But yeah, so there's something about paying it forward to the community. I've received so much in just a few short weeks that I feel like I feel overflowing with, and there's this idea of oh, what is it? This is I just had this, I suddenly had this flash of an image that I've remembered when reading sort of self-help and these kinds of things, where it's like, if you think of yourself as a tube where the good stuff flows through you or something, you always feel empty. But if you think of yourself as a cup, you fill up and overflow. I can't really remember. It's something like that. Like if you're, I think it's more like if you're closed. I think of a sphere, and if you're closed, the good stuff runs round you, but you never feel sated. You always need more running across the surface. But if you think of yourself as a cup, as a vessel, you fill up with the good stuff and then it overflows. And that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling overflowing. I've been overwhelmed with so many lovely, lovely things that you guys have sent me, and patterns and yarn and fibre, that I'm overflowing. So now I'm like, I just naturally kind of feel like I want to give, and that's a lovely place to come from, because that's not a place I've often been in. I've often felt like I've lived in a place of lack. A lot of that is to do with my childhood and what have you, and not feeling like I got what I needed, and not having good, fulfilling relationships, and so often feeling needy and never quite having enough. So you should see me eat, because I eat platefuls of food. If I stop dancing entirely, I'm going to grow sideways so quickly. I've already got a little bit of a spare tyre. I'm not used to it. So I'm going to have to start doing exercise, because otherwise I'm just going to podge the amount I eat. And that, I caught myself there actually. I don't want to fat shame anybody with that, yeah, because that's not what I'm about. And maybe I just need to be a bit more body positive about myself, actually. Yeah? Chill out, James. catching that one. I didn't realise that was a thing for me. But I should probably also, I do want to eat healthily as well, so there's that's okay thing to do. And Rory's just come to say hello and is disturbing stuff and scratching the sofa. You've got a scratch post right next to it, Rory. So he may come and say hi, and you can get to see his curly tail. You gonna come up, Rory? Hello, you gonna come up? Come on. But yeah, I'm feeling just full and fulfilled and able to give as a result, and that's such a lovely, creative, wonderful place to work from. So thank you guys, and I look forward to working out a way that I can pay it forward that is from me. I want it to fill me up but then come out from my heart rather than just spilling over and being messy. I know what I mean. I had different thoughts and was like, no, that doesn't feel like it's coming from me. So I'm going to think about that a bit more. So yes, there's that. On a similar vein, however, is a less successful story. One of the things I was going to talk about last week was... oh gosh, you see, I had it in my notes for last week. Let me just double check, because I think I just scribbled down hats for charity in my notes for this one and didn't do my full notes. So give me a second, because I'll have it in here. Where is he? Turbo Knitter, there we go. Ken from Turbo Knitter. In his last podcast that I saw, and I might be behind now because it's been a couple of weeks, he was talking about knitting for other people, and that's what he really loved, and that it came from a place of wanting to knit for other people and to give, and this kind of same vein. And he mentioned Thank God It's Finished, which is another podcast by Erin. I watched both of these, they're both great podcasts. And the fact that she was doing a hat drive to get people to send in hats for a charity and what have you. And she has also talked about, you know, if you can't post them to her because it's expensive, like for example posting it all the way to America seems ridiculous, to pay for all of that for just a charity hat, she's like doing it locally. And I thought that's a really, really cool idea, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I cast on a little hat just in some basic acrylic from B&M, which is a local kind of cheap, random it's one of those random stores that's a bit of everything and doesn't always have the same thing in, and you know they obviously buy ends of stuff and stock them, or chocolates just going out of date, or that kind of, you know, dirt cheap stuff. So it's just some really cheap acrylic that I bought to play around making rugs and stuff with, that didn't need to be super nice because it was going to be drapey rugs and these big things, and it was more about the colour work and that kind of stuff, and I was playing and I wanted cheap yarn to play with. So I thought, well, I'll do charity hats in acrylic because they need to be acrylic or superwash, because they're not going to locations where they can be lovingly hand washed. You know, they're going to locations where having a hat is a big deal, and it's going to be worn and it's going to be get dirty, and it needs to be able to be just chucked in the wash and be easy to look after. Sorry, I suddenly felt like I was really sort of being harsh about the yarn and then had to justify it. That was odd. Tell you what, when you go in therapy after a while, you suddenly start catching yourself doing all these weird things when you're talking. So yeah, process. But I got sort of yay far in. God, it's whiting out in this light. You can see, there we go, that's a bit better. I got yay far in. It's the Bailey Barley, because I remember thinking, oh, that's nearly my name. Pattern, which is a free pattern by Tin Can Knits. It's on Ravelry, Barley, you'll find it easy. And it's beautiful. It's just stockinette for 2/3, 1/3 got a stitch with a bit of ribbing at the bottom, some nice decreasing, done. Really simple. I got yay far, a couple of inches in, and I just wasn't feeling it. I was just like, eh. Now part of that is the fact that I'm using my bamboo needles on acrylic, which isn't great. They're both a bit sticky, so it's not nice sort of knitting. But I also just wasn't, I felt like I jumped on someone else's bandwagon. And again, like I was saying, the whole giving from me, I want it to be from me, otherwise it feels disingenuous. So, I don't know. And I realised that I kind of started to make a hat without really knowing what I was going to do with it. And I was like, what am I doing? Well, I'm going to make this hat and it's just going to sit on the side for months because I don't know what to do with it. So, there's a couple of things. One, ideas for how to pass it forward and knit for others and that kind of thing. Let's get a conversation. In fact, let's start a thread. I'm going to make a note. Let's start a thread about paying it forward, I think, because then we can get some ideas going, or at least you can get some ideas going and I can copy you, because that's just something I want to have sort of mulling over in my mind. So having a little thread in there, if you guys want to join in, that would be really, really nice. Either stuff you are doing or things you would like to do but haven't yet, or ideas or things that other people have done for you. You don't have to be like Saint Mother Teresa or anyone to do that, although actually I'm not a big fan of Mother Teresa, but that's another topic. To Saint Candice perhaps, to come in with a shout out, whoop whoop, to be involved in that. It's just ideas, like something that would be really nice if you received it, like as a surprise gift. Like, what would you love to get? And then I can use these as ideas for me to do some pay it forward stuff. But also like the charity aspect. If there's anyone UK based, I know there's people UK based that watch this, you guys talk to me. Hi! UK, whoop whoop. If you guys have any good ideas for what I could do with like knitted acrylic hats for charity, then that would be awesome. Because I thought, oh, I could go and get in contact with my local hospital or something and maybe they'd want something. And I was making like a baby size. And I was just like, oh God, I don't want to have to do that. I really don't. Like, one of the big barriers to entry, as it were, is having to then work out who to give it to. And this is where my sort of introverted shyness shows up, because I'm just like, oh, I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to go and talk to somebody who isn't a crafter and is going to look at me like, you've made knitted hats, and they might be, that's awesome, but because I don't know of somebody that wants them, I'm really, really kind of like, ooh, I don't want to be the first person to mention it. I just thought I could look online, couldn't I? But I'm lazy. Would you guys do that for me? Would you guys go and look online for me and tell me where I should give my stuff? Maybe Derby Hospital, see if Derby Hospital has something. And then you can guilt me into making some charity hats, because I think that's what it's going to take to finish this. But yeah, I really like the idea of it when Turbo Knitter talked about it, but for some reason it just hasn't gripped me as much as I thought it would. And I don't know what that's about, but I would love to work that out. And then maybe if I do work that out, I can be a charity knitter as well. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. The fly that was buzzing around earlier is now getting hunted by Rory, which is fantastic. Hey, well done, Rory. Okay, so that's that. That was my kind of good and not so good stuff around that. And I'm just starting to do it. So this is early steps for me. I feel like I give a lot in terms of me in the podcast, but I don't give a lot in terms of other stuff. And I can be quite stingy in terms of some of the other side of things. So this is me wanting to be better at that. Right, community. In the last couple of weeks now, because obviously again this was all missing last week, I have had a couple of people compare me to people whose photos I can find online. I have one thing to say about that. Thank you very much. Check this out. This is two people I have been compared to. I am not complaining. What do you reckon, guys? I need to get my head the same size as theirs, don't I? Let's see if I can wiggle this around. Dan did the clever thing of editing in the photo. I'm just going to print it off and hold it next to my face, because quite frankly, I need to get my head further away, don't I, for the same size. There we go, that's a bit better. So, this one, somebody in a message said that when I'm wearing my hat, I reminded them of Ryan Reynolds. I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah, oh God, it's been a while. I think I got the right photo. Anyway, yes. I am loving that comparison. I will take that, absolutely. And my other half, actually, and I love this. I had this upside down on my desk, and my other half said, "Oh, are you comparing yourself to somebody else's photo?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I am, but actually this is two people that are me." And he was like, "Oh, really? I thought the one in the hat was you." Get in! No, obviously he's biased, he thinks I'm gorgeous. But, you know, I was like, oh, I'm telling the podcast about that, that was awesome. And then Dan, bless him, suggested that I look like Pippin from Lord of the Rings, so I'm going to have to take the hat off for this one, and I just haven't done anything with my hair today, so here we go. I was tempted for you, Dan, to sit and try and curl my hair, because he's obviously got proper like ringlets, but given that it's just let it dry naturally today, it does go fairly curly. So what do you reckon, guys? I was going to do a whole like a cape, but I'm not very good at dressing up, I don't do it very well, so this is my without a hat, with a hat, without a hat, with a hat. So there we go, and this is my crazy hair. I haven't had a haircut, so I wasn't going to necessarily get it out on the podcast. But there we go, that's what my hair's looking like at the moment. So thank you guys, and Dan, I am flattered by that comparison, quite frankly. I know I did have a go at you for it. Well, I mocked you for not having any hair, basically, for it. Because I'm harsh like that. But yeah, I being compared to pretty guys is not a bad thing in my book, so there we go. So my style, I should take I'm quite tempted to take this into the hairdresser when I do go and go, I want to look like this guy. See what she says. Can you imagine? I want to look like a hobbit. Yes, this is going back on, because I am not loving my hair at the moment. It needs serious attention, and I am just being too lazy / busy with things, other things that I would rather do, as opposed to lazy. To actually go and get a haircut. It's not a big deal, but it would take a good chunk of an afternoon out to go into town and stuff, and I'd probably do other stuff in town. So there we go. That doesn't look quite right, does it? Let's get a bit more hair out the front. There we go. How's that, guys? Yeah, that's better. There we are. And so this is what I used to look like when I had shorter hair. Yeah, less kind of going on like wedge form here. Right. Oh, another thing that I was going to mention was Kay from the Bakery Bears found this tinsel yarn and a pattern for making hedgehogs with it, and I just, like, my jaw hit the floor when I saw it, because like not 2 days beforehand my therapist had shown me something she'd bought from a little yarn shop up in Derbyshire where she is, and it was one of those knitted hedgehogs. This little yarn shop was flogging these hedgehogs knitted in that kind of yarn, and they were flogging them for 11 quid, which I imagine is actually a fairly decent markup, although now I think about it, maybe isn't as much of a markup, but it'll have been made out of acrylic. So if you use cheap basic acrylic, you know, and a bit of filler, you're talking a few quid to make it, so they're making a decent sort of little mini profit for time spent in the shop with nothing better to do. So that made me laugh, because I was like, ah! But she was asking me like, oh, I bet you could make one of these. Could you make one of these? And I'm like, actually, so now I can go back to her and say, actually, you know what? I've got a friend who's found the pattern. So if you want me to make you them, £15, please. I don't want to be making knitted hedgehogs for her, but that's another one. Toy along, toy cow. We could be making knitted hedgehogs, but I don't really want to use that yarn. That's not a yarn that appeals to me. But that just made me giggle. Another thing that I saw recently that I wanted to share, and there's a big shout out now to Hannah, who is by Word and Stitch, who I got to meet at Yarndale, and she was following me somewhere else, and she's since messaged me on the forum to say she's catching up on the podcast too. Say hi, Hannah. She on Instagram, I think it was, but I'm not sure where I saw this posted by her, posted yarnsub.com. Now I haven't checked it out for myself, but I made a note that I wanted to share it with you guys because it sounded awesome, and she was saying it was awesome, so I'm trusting her. And this was a website where if you needed to substitute yarn, you could go to that website, pick the yarn that the pattern suggests, and then find a whole load of alternatives that would I guess work up similar or be a similar weight or gauge or all this kind of stuff. So as I say, I haven't investigated it enough to know how reliable it is or what have you, but it sounded like a really cool idea, so I wanted to do a shout out for that, because I thought that sounds like a really cool resource to help people stash bust and stuff like that, and I hadn't seen it before, so now I'm telling you guys, and you can spread the word. If you do use it, let me know what you think. Comments, people. Either if you're watching this either in YouTube or streaming, not streaming, what's it called when you have the little window of the video in the forum, but one of those anyway. If I'm in the forum or I'm in YouTube, where am I? Ooh. Then leave me a comment if you've used it before, so let me know what you think. I would love to know. There's a couple of quick shout outs for podcasts who've given me a little bit of love, so thank you guys. Ooh. Oh, excuse me, it's a good job I'm winding down, isn't it? That's Karen at Stashless, Laura at Kana of Knit and Tea, and Kim at Knitspin Fibre, who sent me a message to kind of go, I'll give you a shout out. Thank you, Kim, because I did not know you were doing a podcast, so I'm sorry, and now I can follow you, and that was awesome, and I watched your latest one and had a great time with that, so thank you. You guys, Stashless, Corner of Knit and Tea, and Knitspin Fibre. Kim is from the UK, so fibre is spelled the UK way. Karen and Laura are American, and I watch all of those. So I highly recommend all three of those. Karen is hilarious. She has an amazing laugh. She's always laughing to herself through the podcast, and it's just lovely to hear. Laura does tea as well, so if you like the tea segment, you should go and check Laura out. Corner of Knit and Tea, there should be a clue in the name. But she also does things like homespun and stuff that she sells and what have you, which looks amazing. And Kim, I've only just caught the last episode, so I think she's more of a knitting vlog, a bit like mine. But she is another Brit, so represent, and yeah, I look forward to seeing more of hers, because I was quickly trying to watch hers while getting other stuff done, so it was a little bit in the background. So I need to sit and watch more of hers when when I'm doing knitting time again. Because I did some knitting and then some messaging last night to try and catch up after I'd missed loads over Yarndale over the weekend and the last couple of days. And one of her messages was her podcast, so I quickly watched it whilst I finished watching podcasts, doing messages, and it was late at night, so I whacked it on, but I was trying to do other stuff at the same time, so I didn't quite watch it enough to kind of give a proper shout out for her. So next time, hey Kim, but nice one you guys, thank you. And then lastly, just a shout out to you guys who are watching. I had somebody get in touch from Serbia. Cool! Hiya, Maya! I was just blown away. Like, the internet is awesome and stuff, but you kind of get used to... the internet is still kind of segregated language-wise. Like, I speak French, and I follow a lot of non-English speaking people on things like Instagram because they post pretty pictures. But I never figured that people in non-English speaking countries would be watching me burble on. But now I have people in Sweden and Germany and Serbia, as well as the UK, the US and the Canada represent, and Australia and stuff, perhaps, I don't know. But I was so bowled over by that I would love, if you are a non-Western or non-Northern Hemisphere English speaking, or you are a non-English speaking country dwelling person, you know what I mean, if you're from a country that's one of those, then I would love to know. So again, in the episode thread, give me a shout, because I would just love to see it. And I know that was it Come Knit With Us? Yeah, Come Knit With Us, one of the viewers started something called a mappy, where they started to map out where everyone was from. And I thought that was a cool idea. And I don't know that I've necessarily got enough people watching Little Old Me to do that. But if I suddenly get a load of people going, I'm from here and I'm from here, and you guys want to, from to the UK, US and Canada viewers want to shout out where you guys are from as well anyway, because quite frankly, let's just do a big shout out of where everyone's from. And if it looks like, oh my gosh, there's loads, then let's do a mappy. And it's like, basically, it's like a global view of Google Maps with little tags that you can put on. So yeah. Or a custom Google map, same thing. One of those kind of things where you can see where everyone's from. And that's kind of cool. Because I was just bowled over by that, and thank you so much, Maya, for writing to me. I had a lovely time chatting with her, and we've been chatting back and forth. So yeah, where in the world are you? You guys have seen the atlas with where I am on. Let's see where you guys are from. And feel free to post a picky as well of where you are if you want to do that. And that, my friends, is very almost that. There is only one last item on the agenda. And to rest my throat, I'm going to have one of my Jolly Rancher candies from Emilia, thank you. And I'm going to go and fetch Stitch. And then maybe Rory as well afterwards. Because I think it's time for some kitten love. And I'm pretty sure that he's had his afternoon nap now. And yeah, it's way time for him to be up and about. So, it's almost time for myself to get home, in fact, so I best do it quick, otherwise he'll be stomping around the house. So I'm going to have a candy to rest my throat and go and find Stitch and bring him out, and then I will record an extra little bit at the end of this for all of you guys who are desperate to see the kitten. And I'll include Rory as well, because I cannot have favourites. I love my cats equally. So, in a second, it will become me with a kitten. Kitty! So, I've taken my shawl off just because if you've seen my Instagram video, this little guy does not like to sit still at all, and I tried to video with one hand and it all went horribly wrong. Let's get him a bit closer to the camera to show him off. So, come on, go. Now he's possibly just woken up, so he's a little bit more docile right now, which is awesome. But say hi, Stitch. Say hello to everybody. Wave. Let's get a little wave going. Hi. Okay. But yes, everybody, this is Stitch. So a bit like Rory, he's got the white belly and paws, but where Rory is ginger striped, Stitch is just black. And he has a straight tail, no curly whirlies going on there. And he smells delicious too. And he's just so pretty. Oh. So I'm super happy to be able to share Stitch with you guys. So Stitch is off exploring around my feet, and it's time for me to say goodbye. So big love to you all, have a great week, and I shall see you soon. Bye!